Welcome to another podcast. You need to post-launch discussion this time. Last time we did one of these was for the beta, so it's been what 7 months, I think. Is that how math works? It's been a while. Um, but we're gonna talk about how things have changed since Clear and how the game is shaping up. I do also have a new cast this time, mostly, except for Foxof, who will be returning. But quickly, can we introduce ourselves?
I'm Big Black. I play Byakuya. Been playing since 2018, and I'm in Florida.
Hey, I'm Foxof. I've been playing also since 2018. I play Londrekia, and I'm in Maine.
Hi, I'm OmniDeeg. I play Eltnum. I'm from Florida as well, and I've been playing since I think it's 2021.
Uh, my tag is Silent from Texas. I play Phonon, and I've also been playing since 2018.
Also, we started playing in 2020.
Oh, is that real? Okay, okay.
Well, it was like the year Clear came out, right?
Well, I didn't start playing until a little bit after that.
Well, anyways, just to start us off, first impressions of Uni 2. How are we feeling? Are we liking the system changes? Are we enjoying rollback? What's going on?
I mean, this is this is like my dream game, which is not to say that it's perfect, but I really, I really like so much of what we got. Um, the game is it is like probably the most different that Uni has been from one version to another. I guess I can't really remark on EL too much, but it definitely feels like a much bigger change from ST to Clear than like going from Clear to Uni 2 is like it really I feel like it really deserves the title that it has because
I
it is
agree.
very much a continuation and like there is so much about it that is quintessentially like fundamentally Uni, but there's also so much that is like it is so much closer to being just like a straight up fighting game than the Uni series has ever been before. Which I know, like obviously, it's a fighting game, but it feels more like that in a I guess traditional sense.
Yeah, I my relationship with Uni 2 recently has been very I think the best way to describe it is a love-hate relationship cuz a lot of it is spawned from the character I play. Obviously, it's a more volatile game. Defense in this game is definitely the hardest it has ever been.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You you're definitely forced to like if you're gonna make a decision in this game, you have to commit to it. Because if you hesitate to make a decision in this game, the other player already made the decision. You're gonna get killed for it, and it's definitely hard. As the character I play, she's definitely not one of the strongest characters defensively. No DP, no 5 frame. So I definitely get stressed a lot about that aspect of the game. But I really do like offense in this game. Like you really one thing Uni has done right is you really get rewarded for being on offense in this game, I feel. But this game, like you really feel like okay, when you open someone up on offense, like you actually earned it. Even with cycle too, when you win Vorpal, you feel like you actually earned it. Because obviously a lot of changes like shielding accelerates the cycle, which is I always forget that's a thing. But winnings like Vorpal cycles are so frequent in this game now. And we thought, people were farming grid like crazy and clear. Like I remember telling myself like stuff like, man, the way people play grid now is just obscene. And we thought it was bad during the clear era, but now it's just absurd, especially with Celestial being a thing now.
Players like Squish who like already were like live or die by the cycle. I'm going to do whatever it takes to win the cycle. Yeah, they're like really out here now.
It's definitely a feast or famine game now, I would say.
Definitely.
Um I do like that it's more interactive too, as well. Especially since 1AD is gone.
Oh god.
Obviously, it was a crutch for certain players and some characters aren't really happy about that change. But one thing that I do not miss about Clear is trying my hardest to crack players that mix in 1AD with their OSs. Like, obviously
Man,
relying on one.
who here would fit that description? I
I know,
can't
right?
think of anybody. Like,
Like, it's so crazy because, like, obviously, if you rely on 1AD alone, that's easy to beat. But when you have players like BB, of course, that, they'll do 1AD, but they'll show you the occasional 3CAT or J2COS. Stuff like that, it was mentally taxing to deal with, especially on a character that really has to go the extra distance, I would say, to beat those options. It was definitely very tough. But I will say my personal gripes come from Celestial. I think Celestial is a bit overtuned, I'm not gonna lie. The reward, I think, is too much. I like the concept of it giving you another bounce to keep the extension going, but the damage bonus you get from it, and I think the meter refund is like a little bit too absurd.
Yeah, you
This
get
version of the
a
game.
lot of meter in this version. It's kind of crazy how.
Honestly, even though I don't know, like the meter refund on Celestial is pretty crazy, but I feel like it's only slightly justified if you actually earn Celestial. Like the only thing I would
Yeah.
really change about Celestial is if it had all of its benefits except for the damage, I think it'd be fine.
Oh yeah. I definitely agree with that. Like that's something I could live with too.
yeah,
Uh
I would pretty much agree with that too. That like because it already well, okay, but here's the thing. Is you can talk about how ridiculous like celestial routing is, but to me, like the real enemy is actually just that IW minimum damage is
I was literally about to say
so
that too.
Yeah.
Like as
so
my next
high.
point.
And to that point, like when you have 200 meter, like your damage potential is like so much higher than if you're spending 100 at a time. Like
I agree.
it is actually efficient, like meter efficient, to just spend 200 meter and not be locked out of meter gain after you spend 100 meter.
I agree.
And like you will, if you have CS available after that, you're going to get 100 meter back so fast and then be
Yeah.
back like in a good spot. But you actually are doing so much more damage to just cash out IW than you are spending 100 meter at a time that it's like it almost feels like Street Fighter 3 or Street Fighter 6 level 3 for a different reason. Like
Yeah.
it's
I
not
definitely agree.
about like controlling the game state so much, although like sometimes freezing the timer like that can be nice for you, or you get like a good Oki setup, whatever. It's actually just the absurd damage. And you can just like there's almost never a time where I guess the time not to do it is when you don't have Vorpal then for the situation after to like,
I agree.
keep your turn after and like in a safe way. But other than that, like it's like you can if you can just get to 200, you can end so many rounds like so much faster than you may expect to. Like
Yeah.
that has been it's absurd to the point that sometimes I've just gotten lazy with my routing and just been like I'll just
Yeah,
a couple
just turn
buttons
the brain off,
IW, all
dunk
right.
IW at the
Yeah.
end. Yeah. Especially with Steer Ender too.
Yeah, because it's like you don't need to call Say Jam unless Wald is on the screen. Like they just die, you know? So
No, Wall is doing
Celestial,
crazy damage this version too, though.
yeah, but God, I played Psychotic Wald recently and there were just so many rounds where I was like, okay, IW kills. It didn't kill? Oh no, and then I lose the round.
That's me with that's me with IWEX this version. Like I feel like I'm pretty on the ball about like when IW kill, but when someone does IWEX on me, I'm all like, I don't know if this is gonna kill or not. I think the fallout from IW damage is doing so much, like I'm just desensitized to like everything else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So like I would actually prefer that IW damage be touched even before you get onto like adjusting Celestial because
I agree.
yeah, IW damage is just like it's such a dominant part of your decision making, you know.
Mhm.
And to be honest, I'm not a fan of Street Fighter 6 level 3 for that exact reason. It's like it's so good that you have no reason not to do it, and you'll see just like 4 level 3s in like your first game, and it's like, oh, okay. You know?
You want to know what's crazy about that? Like, I feel like the character that, I mean, this character's reward off IW, in my opinion, has always been the best. Even before this version, I was gonna say Wagner. Like when they have 200, they're doing IW
Yeah.
every single time because they get the double buff. And Wagner's reward on hit is even more better in this version. Now, like her routing mid screen is so much better now. I feel like that was like one of her, I would say, weaknesses was her routing mid screen. Unless like she got like a a good starter, but like off like stuff like 2A, her routing wasn't the best mid screen, and now she's actually has real routing mid screen now. So
All right, so Red is not here to speak, but I can speak on his behalf because we've spoken to each other recently. And what he was saying, because I brought up that like Lond 5B damage is just too absurd to me. Like it really, I feel like, needs to be toned down. And he was like, okay, like let's talk high damage stuff. And like, of course, he pulled out the Hyde 22B. You know, like you know, but then we were talking about burn routing too, and he's like, I just feel like I'm getting everything that I used to want, but it still just feels like really cheap that I can just tack on. Like I can essentially spend 100 meter to do 1.6k if burn runs its course.
yeah,
And I was like, yeah, okay, that is pretty absurd. Okay, yeah.
like it's funny because I was watching Gray play at Texas Showdown, and he dropped Nanase. He thinks Nanase is bad, but that's a different discussion for another time.
Whoa.
Kinda crazy.
Okay.
Kinda
We'll just put a pin in that one. All right.
We'll come back. We'll come back.
But like every time he got a hit in 200 IW every single time, and like it really
Yep.
puts into perspective. Like even myself now, like when I have 100 bar, because my meter spend threshold in clear was if I have 150 minimum, I'm gonna throw a bar on a combo. But now, like I just hold the meter, and next hit I'm gonna IW, and usually they're gonna be in throw kill range, and obviously since strike throw situations are a lot more messed up in this version, you can really leverage that situation. So like it's just IW is just it's too powerful as
It's
a
really
Yeah.
strong. Yeah,
I
think Netflix
actually-
plays the same way. With go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I made kind of a joke tweet, kind of, sort of, but not really, where I was like, against some players, you just gotta not spend the meter, because if they get caught mashing on wake up, then you don't build any meter from that combo, and then you still have to hit them, not throw them again. Whereas if you just hit them once, don't spend meter, hit them a second time, and then IW, it's like that's so much more worth it. So it almost feels like a little too prohibitive that you're like kind of unless you have CS, it feels like you're slapping yourself on the wrist to spend meter at the end of your route, like non-vorpal,
I agree. And what's even crazy is obviously since 1AD is gone, OS crushes and throw baits are a lot more potent too. So on the defensive end, if you make a error, like okay, I did a OS at a timing where I shouldn't have, they baited whatever I was doing, blah blah blah. It's not gonna be good, especially like if you VO. Like it's things could go so wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
You
watching.
can die very,
real quick
very
in this
quickly.
game.
What were you gonna say, Omni?
Oh, I was gonna say that Nefris also plays the same way, where he saves that 200 and just spends it. Because I had a lot of time being able to play him at a crossover.
He was doing
And
that a lot.
I promise you, I saw that IW like 50 times during our set. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I was
It's really strong.
watching Boston Blue Beat the other day, like 2 days ago, and Revert was playing, and he got a VO and then one Celestial, and he
Oh,
won the round with a 2-touch, and the 2 starters were Assault JC, non-counter hit, and a 5A. And those are the 2 starters, and he 2-touched.
Fox, remember that clip you posted of us two playing? Like
Yeah.
you had 5 block CS and killed me, then I VO'd, and like I did so much damage off that. Like
I
that's
remember
basically
that. Yeah.
That video honestly sums up Uni2.
Yeah. So for those who haven't seen it, there's kind of a trick that you can do where if you aren't canceling the startup of an EX move, but you are CSing after you have recovered from using it, you get more grid back. So as long as you have 5 grid blocks, CS, and 200 meter, you can spend meter and then like CS in a neutral state, do some filler into the steer ender, and then spend IW on top of that. And it's like you don't need Celestial to do 6.2, 6.3.
Right?
Yeah.
Jeez.
So that's also a lot. But yeah, I absolutely agree. That kind of sums up the extreme circumstances that you can find yourself in Uni2. Like sometimes if you make the wrong decision on defense, you just die. Like I just died to 2GIG the other day. A lot of people saw that
clip
combo.
was the most absurd thing I've ever seen. Like since I started playing Under Night, I was dumbfounded.
You know what's crazy too is I hit him up earlier today. I was like, a lot of people liked that route, and he was like, you know what kills me is like that's actually suboptimal for that amount of grid during
Insanity.
Celestial. I should have just gone to IWEX and done a flat 7K. I was like,
that was just the most absurd thing about that clip was him doing run up 9 CS. I was like, what?
Yeah, the fade back CS was so sick.
That was my jaw dropped when I saw that. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, that combo made the EX like flash noise 5 times in one combo.
It's ridiculous. Like, oh my goodness. I have to watch that clip again later. Like that was like no glazing, but that clip was ridiculous.
Yeah,
man. The defensive, like we talked about all the defensive things changing, but how do you guys think that 3D fits into the defense now?
I hate it. Can't lie. I don't like 3D at all.
3D, I'm gonna say it. It's a bad mechanic.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
I'm not like it's weird because there's days where I'm like, okay, 3D is a necessary evil. Yeah. Like against characters like Carmine and Kuon and stuff. Obviously, they have ways to deal with 3D, or Hilda especially. Like 3D against Hilda is it's very tough for Hilda to deal with, but there's certain characters where I'm like, okay, I'm glad 3D exists, especially with how volatile this game is. But I fight other characters that you're not really interacting in those like, okay, I'm guessing situations. Like you're playing more traditional Under Night, and I'm just like what, like the saying like we used to be kings, like that like 3D, like what happened to shame, like this shit used to mean something.
I don't like 3D at
3D definitely has its place in the game, but it really just feels like 3D was put in to just help people deal with the set play characters.
Yeah.
Well, do you think the set play characters would be too strong with all the other defensive changes? 3D wasn't there.
I think so. Yeah.
I kind of feel like Carmine Bomb, like I wish that 3D made any sort of difference there, but instead it's just
3D doesn't really apply to Carmine too much.
Right.
So I feel like I can't actually I almost feel uninvited to this conversation playing Lond because all of my setups just deal with it automatically with like very little to no input from me. So I don't have to worry about it so much. I'm usually the one abusing it, but I will say like it comes with a lot of like using it effectively is really dicey. Like I feel like I'm dice rolling whenever I use it. Like there's no instance where I press 3D and I don't feel a similar way to waking up low shield in Melty Blood type Lumina. Like things could go pretty south from here for me, And like playing ULID actually, it especially like, or playing, I guess in playing Kaguya against Kaguya more generally, really highlights though that some characters deal with 3D in such a way that really incentivizes them to play around it, and other characters it's just such a nuisance, and even dealing with it doesn't feel good. Like I'm specifically talking about like when I pop disco as Vat, uh like I can't even really say that I main that character anymore. That's like a sub. That's like a for fun character for me at this point. Like I'm not there
You
with
heard it
it.
here
I'm
first.
not
You heard
practiced.
it here first.
But whenever I do play that and I pop disco, like I honestly just like I'm just like hoping that they do something silly like VO or they roll early and get hit by the laser, because like the roll is such a big consideration that I just don't feel like I can layer the type of offense that I would want from that setup, And even if I like get a grid break throw on wake up roll, even if that happens, then it's kind of like that whole thing just ends. Like that's how it ends. Then I don't get to do the fun thing. I like
Yeah.
either way, even if you get grid break thrown, I still feel denied from doing the fun thing.
Yeah.
And that's actually worse than you getting forced to block and blocking it. At least then I get to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel
But
like 3D really takes the fun out of like offense in this game too.
Mhm.
Because like when I play Phonon, so one thing I will say as privilege is like Space 6 FF beats roll clean. Like you just can't roll there. So, Phonon does have something that I could do that's brainless that deals with roll, but like when I'm like in their face, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do a delay 6-6B here to crush OS. And they just roll and my 6-6B whiffs. I'm like, wow. Like and we're back to neutral. Like I really did like the interaction aspect of offense and defense in the strike throw situation, but 3D just kind of like it's like when you see someone spilled the ice cream on the ground and like someone steps on it. That's kind of what 3D. It's like a stain on a shirt.
well, okay, well, what I was trying to talk about before I got sidetracked on Vat woes, I know, real struggle character, right? But I would like think when I think about Kaguya though, or like Carmine, I think, or even like to a degree Byakuya, like it's not quite as strong as like Triple Web, obviously, but like getting thrown by those characters when I'm trying to roll is like, ah, crap, I'm in a worse situation now. Especially Kaguya, I'm in exactly the same quality of situation as
Yeah.
before. We literally go again. Whereas Vat, it's like you call it out, and it's like, okay, now I guess I 5A me you. Like, all right, fun's over. Pack it up. So
Yeah, it's really good against Kaguya, especially if you're mixing in delay tech as well. Because if you're delay teching and then doing 3D, depending on the setup, you pretty much, on most setups, Kaguya has to either forfeit the mix to catch the roll, or you just go for the mix. But which kind of sucks on the offensive. Like I think Silent was talking about, like you don't get to have fun because you don't get to do the funny mix up. But I feel like that's kind of just true with like a lot of knockdowns in Uni. But either way,
Yeah.
the thing about Kaguya, which I think kind of makes it okay, is that her reward on throw is really good. Cause the
yeah,
setup
yeah.
she
Yeah.
gets is like actually better than she gets from a normal combo off of throw because of the way that the proration hit stun scaling
Yeah.
works. So it's like kind of a double edged thing.
For Byakuya, it's just, oh my, I hate it. I
It
hate
looks
it.
really obnoxious for Byakuya, not gonna hold you,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, it looks pretty bad.
Byakuya,
I think it clears top web, right? The top web.
yes, it does.
Oh my
It's
god.
it's so much more effort I have to put in dealing with roll than my opponent has to just deciding to do it. That's why I don't like it. It's like if someone ever asked me what would be one simple thing to help them deal with web oki better, I would just say roll. First time you get put in web oki, roll immediately and
Yeah.
see if the person you're playing knows how to deal with it. And if they can't catch it, then there you go.
For
Their mental
the
stack is looking for roll. So they have to
Yeah.
change all their timings on their meaties or change their web setups completely to deal with roll. and then you're just in a whole different situation.
Right.
When you do the 2B, it's like the 2B meaty, but you recover in time to throw, and you can punish the roll. Does that give you a throw into the web, or do you just get a regular throw?
See, so it's really weird because sometimes I've done it in training mode where I'll be at a spacing where I 2B meaty and they roll, and I throw them, and all 3 of the webs disappear. But there's a spacing where you can throw them where the back web doesn't disappear, but you can't throw them into it. So
Oh my god.
it's
That
really weird.
sucks.
That's tough. I can't believe I'm being sympathetic for Byakuya.
I know.
That's still pretty rough though, like on a fundamental level.
Yeah.
Well, that is a question I wanted to kind of go around the room and ask you guys how you guys feel about your characters in this version. Maybe if you want to add on to what you were saying. Anything else about Byakuya?
I mean, I will say, in terms of Byakuya's offense, I think his offense is in this version is the best it's ever been. But I guess it's more, I say that because it's more catered towards how I like to play, a more spacing oriented style of pressure. So having 2-2A and 2-2B makes pressure for me a lot more interesting because I get to play spacings at different ranges to change how my opponent wants to approach. So I still think he's good. I think in terms of, like, if we're talking how he was perceived in the last version and clear compared to now, I think he's around the same place, to be completely honest. I don't think he's really shifted anywhere. But that's just me.
It was really interesting playing Lamp, and you do the thing where like you're used to playing against a character a certain way, and so just the little differences in play style really stand out to you. I was like, dude, this guy is not holding 4 on me very much at all. Like, he's he's like, just there's a lot of dash block into, are you gonna let me are you gonna let me into throw range? Are you gonna let me mix you? Like, just pure Yomi. And I was like, whoa, what? But I thought you were Mr. like walk back press 2B man. Like, what is this? But I was used to playing you. So and maybe too that Lamp's style has changed a little bit. But so Lond is, I mean, when we eventually talk about Kuon, because I know that we're going to talk about Kuon on this thing. When we eventually talk about Kuon, I feel like I'm only going to be permitted a certain number of words to say, because like my character is already so dumb and like deals with him so well that like I'm not in a position to complain. I feel like if I play it correctly, like Londrekia feels like uh so good at abusing the system mechanics, like so heavily rewarded, and like the reward off of just anything that I do, any successful hit, even just putting someone in block stun just feels like sweet, awesome, we're there, so yeah, I mean, I think my character is pretty ridiculous. I guess I should be more specific. Like his 5 BB damage and like the fact that he does like corner to corner or like anywhere to corner into a freeze setup, into like concentrating to win the Vorpal cycle, and then using it to like put a set play throw thing on you that's like plus on block when he places it. That's unusual, by the way. Like I feel like that's really significant actually. Like Orie has something similar. Nanase has something similar. They're all minus on block into the RPS. Like Lons is one of the very few that, like, granted it's like a little spaced out, but is like one of the very few that I can think of where you aren't like minus something. You're not like -2, -4. You're like +4, you know? And so it feels so cheap and almost like Hilda-ish that I can just like play to farm meter once I get them in the corner and just pop the EX Blossom and just be like, all right, guess. You know, that's like, I feel like 22C is like super, super cheap in this version. So, I don't know. I feel like this character does it all. He just does it in a very like not traditional way. Like you're not going to see this character assaulting at you, for example, but he has things that are like arguably better than that, you know. So I don't know. I think Lon's ridiculous.
Do you think Ice Rain is still as dumb as people's initial reactions thought it was?
No, no. I mean, I do think that like it's a very ignorant move. And there are definitely some matchups where you can just abuse it.
Haha, yeah.
Yeah,
I know
hi.
that feeling.
But I feel like when I'm playing more experienced players and we are like interacting on a level where we understand each other's kits pretty well, honestly, I don't feel like I use it as much, you know, like I am generally leaning into other more direct options to interact with them. And Ice Rain comes out when I feel like they don't permit me to do that. But most of the time I already can. So it's like I used to gripe about launch players in Clear. I was like, anyone who picks up the character inevitably is at some point going to autopilot like a fireball into Frozen Vine, and then they're going to like run up and do whatever. And it's like, you know, you're actually going to get a lot further. Like you're going to get your damage from playing with the opponent in neutral. Like you're going to get really, really well rewarded. So like skipping neutral like that, I'm putting in parentheses, like skipping neutral is like, uh, I don't know. The move is ridiculous, but I actually feel like just the Yomi of having it is stronger than actually using it. So like I don't tend to use it too much myself. I use it in like niche situations, you know.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. You're
Wow.
talking about like the reward of the hit in neutral is better than just skipping
It's
neutral.
Yeah, it's legitimately, and I think that, I mean, this has probably changed a little bit depending on the matchup in Uni 2, where like in Uni 2, like it can definitely feel better to just get in there and start making them guess on throw and stuff like that. But uh I feel like traditionally that's been the way that you play Lond like in Clear. It's like you want them to interact with you. You just want to like troll them into thinking that they can in a certain way, and then jump scaring them with your whatever C-Rekka, whatever. You've got
Mm-hmm.
so many good options. You just have to get them comfortable enough to let you hit them with them.
Omni, how are you
But
feeling about Eltnum?
I think this might be super cap, but I think this is the strongest she's ever been, ever. But like, take what I say with a grain of salt because I've only ever played Clear. But like, she's was also made really easy this version, right? Because she has 66C, which is an easy bake RPS situation that, is really hard to deal with. It's super ignorant, especially when you're in the corner and like in neutral, you can whiff cancel it for some reason. I don't know what money was smoking, but
also,
really,
players over the age of 30 have been known to not block it. Please
yeah,
continue.
true. And it's also an overhead kind of. It's like it's just a reaction check on you, and like we were talking about the 5 grid block threshold. I think she could leverage that really, really well and get a lot of damage off with the steer ender into IW ender that we were talking about earlier. Because every time she reloads, she just gets another grid block, and she could just leverage that
Yeah.
into the 5 grid block threshold, and or if she's really cooking, Celestial, which is just ridiculous, right? I feel like it's just super easy to get that. So I do think Eltnum is pretty strong this version. She still has those same weaknesses she did in the older versions, like the mid screen Oki not being the best, but like who cares about that, right? I feel like she's cooking.
I think it's something you mentioned too about the steer ender is pretty cool
Mm-hmm.
because her steer ender is like weirdly long. Because like Foxof,
Yeah.
you were talking about how like if you have 5 blocks of grid, you can do an EX move, chain shift, and then button steer ender IW. Maybe it's just Kaguya, not being the greatest character, but for Kaguya, you actually need more grid blocks because her steer ender doesn't last long enough for the conversion. I don't know if that's consistent for other characters. Maybe you guys can comment on your character, but I know like Yuzu's is probably pretty short. I don't know if she can do it. I
I
don't
think
know.
Byakuya's is pretty short, but he also doesn't do that anyway.
You just with
Like the
VO
way
IW.
his combos are, the chances of you doing an EX move and then chain shift, steer ender IW, it's not likely to
Yeah.
work.
Aren't you like already out of bounces by the end of it too? Isn't it like use a bounce for the AB ender for Byakuya?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, Eltnum's doesn't bounce, fortunately. They're still hanging in the air. Kind of ridiculous.
Actually,
And
Omni,
also the 214A change where
That
you
changes.
oh my goodness.
I don't
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
I have a gripe about that change actually.
I was talking about earlier how she's easier to play, and like that used to be a 3-frame link, 2-frame link.
Dude,
I don't know
that's
exactly.
oh my
Yeah,
god.
and now it's just free. You just press 2B and cook, you know.
Dude, it's so crazy because like that 214A pickup in the previous versions, that was a display of
I thought it was the hypest thing
skill.
she could do. It's so
Yeah,
cool.
like it was a display of skill, execution. Like that separated the men from the boys when it came to Elden
For
players.
real. I agree
And like
100%. I was
it's
very
just
upset about the
it's a
change.
Mickey Mouse pickup now. Like I just
It's-
like look
Yeah.
I don't want to go into this topic, the whole modern fighting game execution topic, like nonsense, like because this game, from an execution standpoint, is still very traditional. You know, it is demanding an execution if you want it to be, in the grand scheme of things, at least compared to like a lot of newer titles. I won't say any names, but if you know, you know. But like stuff like that, I mean, I like it kind of makes me sad because I really loved seeing when a player when it shows that a player really put in time
Mhm.
and wrench time into their character. When you see stuff like that, it
Yeah.
really makes me appreciate the effort players put into getting good with their character. But like now, like they just removed
Yeah.
it. Like I don't know.
Now it's
Like
just
now,
free.
yeah, now it's just another. Oh, you got hit by the slow that drags you close to me. I get the most brainless pickup of all time. Like whoop de doo. Like I don't know.
Oh,
So I will be the dissenting party and say that it makes me feel better knowing that there's not as much of a disparity between these characters that have really like on rails routing with like lots of untech on each special and things like that versus the characters that are do like manual delays off of everything that they do. It actually, I do like that they managed to make the combo execution in Uni 2 easier than it's ever been in the series without necessarily like removing the depth.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Mhm.
okay with them making links easier. Uh that doesn't so much bother me. If anything, like I said, it's like I don't feel as bad doing things on Lond when I know that like a Hyde player is not going to slightly mess up their Rekka delay and drop their game winning combo or whatever. Like I feel better about being like on an more even footing with everybody. On the flip side, Lond is actually like now has optimal stuff that is like actually demanding, like actually really hard and like more like a traditional uni character. So I'm kind of like eating my words that I always said this character was like stupidly easy to combo with, and now it's like, never mind. Tukibito's cooking. Like,
Before
yeah.
I want to ask Silent about what he thinks about Phonon, but before we move on, I actually have a question for you, Omni, about
What's up?
Eltnum 6C, because Eltnum has a lot of like new buffs and cool tools, but I feel like I'm not seeing many Eltnums use 6C, and I was wondering if you had any comments on that.
Yes. I think It's pretty good for what I think it's supposed to be used for, right? I think it's supposed to blow up stand techs because it low crushes and it's also in like the air. I'm not sure exactly what frame, but I've been able to blow up people stand teching with it pretty frequently, and it's not a bad starter as well. It's kind of like 3.4 without Vorpal, I believe. So not seeing Eltnum players not use it is kind of like it's I don't know what the word is, but I feel like they should be trying it out a little bit more. You know, maybe they forgot it's a move, low key. I forget in mid match as well until I remember. I think the IC version's pretty solid too, because it's safe on shield and also it's another reaction test. Let's see if you get overheaded or you don't shield it. It's still my turn, no big deal. You know, and another really neat thing about this move is that it staggers with specials. So her 2-2A, you just get a big counter hit if they try to mash on it, and you know if that's just her best starter and you're getting cooked, right? But I will say, don't use that move mid screen. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Is
But
the
corner, I think it's solid.
there's too much push block mid screen or
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. You don't get a lot of reward off of it mid screen.
What about the new increase 214?
I think it's a little bit on the more underwhelming side of things, but it has its purpose of catching the green shields off of certain normals, such as 2C1 and IC5C. But it's definitely like a guess when you do it, right? So I think it's a pretty much more on the underwhelming side, but it's still a nice tool to have. Another quality of life change though that I do like is the 2C trade happening. And we get that hard knockdown for a pickup. Before, they just immediately teched up and clear. But now we have that hard knockdown like, other 2Cs in the game, and we can pick up. It's super nice. I'm so glad that change happened because that saved my life a bunch of times. I cannot lie. It's such a good change.
Can you rebeat Eltnum 2C's first hit?
No, you can only special cancel it. Before, the option was you 2C into 4-2-1 immediately before like the second hit came out to get the green shield, but now we have a much safer option, which is 2-1-4B, and they throw tech, and let's say have cycle. Oh, it's still kind of my turn. So it's way safer to do it compared to 4-2-1A, but
Venice is still gonna async me like 3 times and press a button, and I'm gonna get hit, and I won't be able to explain why, but it's still gonna work.
Yeah, it's way safer, which I can appreciate, right? Sally is still deafened, so we're gonna have to,
Yeah, we can
All right,
talk about.
it's okay. I can talk about this lawn champion all day. Like, I
I mean, if you have more you want to say, go for it.
I mean, I just think that there's so much of what he does that is just streamlined towards like really really simple but effective strategies. And I don't know, maybe I say that with a hint of bias that like I have been playing this character for a couple of years now, but he's just very intuitive and straightforward, and I feel like the combination of being so like accessible in so many ways, but being able to abuse system mechanics and the way that he does, he feels closer to like I've kind of had a laugh before when people have been like newer players are like, so he's like a Shoto, right? Like he's got a fireball, and I'm like, nah.
Oh, true.
But
I don't think
no,
it's a Shoto either.
no,
I don't
no,
think
no,
it's a Shoto.
no. But like, I'm closer than ever to being like, he's like actually like a small step over from being like more of an all-rounder character than he ever has been. I feel like he's that fleshed out or like that balanced now in his kit that it's not like to the degree of like Hyde or Orie, but he definitely just feels like kind of equipped for everything, especially like once you get 100-meter, you don't have a horizontal reversal is like one of the few things you don't have, but you have just about everything else that you could ask for. Like he's just so solid. I don't know. I have like kind of been like I do see a lot of people picking him up as a sub, It's like, yeah, that was kind of inevitable. But like, I'm actually a little bit surprised that more players other than Rikir, who's been putting in some good work. I've been kind of surprised that there haven't been like more people kind of jumping on the bandwagon. I say that, but Lawn Chat like actually exists now. Like, it's so nice to have it alive in Uni2. Like, it was pretty desolate and clear. So, hey, Silent is back. What's up,
Yeah.
man?
All right, Silent.
So is this where I get to talk about Phonon?
Go for
Yeah,
I
it.
have a
man.
lot of I have a lot of thoughts on this
The
character. I'm
stage
not
is
gonna
yours.
lie. I will say from the jump that when it comes to her toolkit overall and what she has and her new additions and stuff, I think this is the most complete the character has been since she got added to ST. I think the disparity between her now and her when she got added to the game was she was a very bare bones character. Let's be honest, like her kit really didn't have much. Like, okay, she had Rekkas, she had Pillar as an anti-air, and she had air and ground fireball. But the
Wait,
problem was they're just so overtuned. Well, Rekka, not so much. Rekka right now is actually the best it's ever been, specifically a Rekka. But I'll get to that later.
are you talking about
Uh,
ST?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
what you're saying is like in ST, like Air Fireball was just so
it was so broken.
yeah.
It was so broken. Like TKB fireball in your face +6. It's 0 now. Like that was a nerf from from SC to clear. But and on top of that, her dash startup was super fast back then. Don't tell Kamoni, but I actually have a ST. I have ST installed on my PC through illegal means. Don't report me. And I was messing with Phonon and stuff, and she like zoomed across the screen. A thing she had back then was, how Phonon would do rebeat into up back air B fireball to like crush a low or something.
Mm-hmm.
So she could do that from like 4B range, right?
Oh
Max
my god.
4B range. You green shield, she dashes at you from that distance and grid break throws you. That's how absurd. I think I have a video of it that I could link to y'all later, but it's absurd. But I really do like the direction they went with Phonon. And clear, they definitely had a clear identity of what they wanted to do with the character. Because in ST she was definitely just brain off, do whatever I want neutral, plus frames all day, blah blah blah. But they really wanted her to be a space control character at mid range, 2B range, 2C range, which I really like about her. Her damage is even higher now. Obviously, that's a thing across the board for every character this version of the game. Besides Enkidu, for some reason, his that I still think about how Rikir was like just doom posting about how Enkidu has not gotten any new routes, which is I feel
Yeah.
bad.
That's awful, yeah.
Like that's pretty rough. But Phonon's damage is a lot higher now. A lot of combos that worked off certain starters like 2B, 5A that didn't work in clear work now. They also reworked a lot of specials. So one special in particular was her air A fireball. So obviously people usually knew that special as like you air stall with like JA, then you land with a fireball, and it's like a lingering hitbox that use it to cover yourself while dashing and take space, things like that. But TK a fireball was useless before. You would do it. Usually it would be a misinput or something when you do TK a fireball. You had no actions after it. You were minus 21 and clear, punishable. The only way to make yourself remotely safe is canceling into EX air fireball, but they actually reworked that special completely this version. And that's how you know that move was useless before, because we didn't even know that was the thing until the beta dropped. Because like, who in their right mind's gonna be like, "Yo, what'd they do with TK Fireball?" Like, when a special is that useless, like it doesn't really, like you really don't get the thought to lab that stuff. But they actually made it to where you could have air actions after on whiff. So what I do and BB could attest to this because we played a lot. I would do TKA Fireball as an OS cross, and I would go for double overhead JBJA, or I would go for like whiff J for being to throw or low. And I think that's a pretty interesting thing she has now too, and obviously, that's a thing for combos too as well. And they also made it +4 by itself. The TKA Fireball. Obviously, you're still in the air for a bit because so that +4 is kind of cosmetic, but she does like actions after she'll frame trap you. I think that's a very nice addition. I think the changes to A-Rekka are very, very welcome to 214A because her enders are a lot more stable now. One thing I really didn't like was with Phonon, you had to resort to doing B-Rekka for certain things because the combo was so prorated that the last hit of 214A would whiff and they tech and you die. But they changed it to where you could still combo 214AA like off anything now, which I like. And they actually increased the startup too. And they actually increased the delay, the follow-up window, so you can actually frame trap with it now, which is very nice. And another thing that's kind of important to talk about is install too.
Yeah, so is install as good as you thought it was going to be?
In a different way, I think the value of install comes with how it interacts with players trying to shield out Phonon. I think that's the biggest strength it has. Obviously, the plus frames and stuff are nice too, and obviously, I mean, I guess this goes in hand with that first point because in previous versions, if you do B pillar, you had to either hit confirm with 2C or 2C or try to confirm if they block you, you go straight into EX Fireball. But now you don't even have to do that. You just do pillar install and you still keep your turn, and they don't have anything else to shield for free grid and whatnot. But in places where people would try to shield, for example, I think the most common one is Phonon doing 6FF fireball
Oh my
loops in the
god.
corner.
I will
So
simply shield the third hit of Phonon 6FF.
yeah,
Nothing bad could happen.
yeah, nothing bad could happen, right? But now what she could do is she'll cancel the second hit of 6FF into install. Your green shield will flash and she'll dash throw you at mid range, grid break you. And on top of that, for example, people trying to shield 6xb, because obviously if you shield the second hit, you're punishable. You do 6xb1 install, and the green shield would flash in your face, and you just dash throw them. So stuff like that are very nice that I really like. I will say for install too, the one thing I really do like a lot is not the frame advantage that Fireball gives you, because sometimes this is gonna sound crazy. It's not a downplay angle. I think anyone could relate to this, but sometimes being 2+ could be a detriment.
True.
Because you would like you would mess up your timings on offense and stuff. It took me a while to get used to how different timings are in install, because I would do TKB Fireball in your face on +10 in install, and I'll try to go for an OS crush, but I'm so plus that it's gapless.
Yeah.
So I'm just like whatever. I guess what I was doing just went out the window. So
Yeah, this was actually my issue with VAT gym loops in ST and in Clear. I was like, am I actually 2+? It feels like a lot of the time to
Yeah.
threaten with throw, like because I have to delay so significantly,
Yep.
so obviously. Now, like with Blossom block stun is like
Very
it just
minimal.
it just comes and goes so quick that like you really have to commit to mashing pretty early, you know.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, I feel like having less plus frames is a lot scarier, like more ambiguous.
No. And what the one thing I'll say the other thing I like about install the most is like Geyser is a lot more threatening in install. Because usually if you don't have any meter, the only way you can confirm off pillar is one, you hit B Geyser at 2B spacing and they're grounded. So you're plus enough to link 2B after. Or if they're in your face, you do A Geyser, you can link for like 5A. What she can do now is link Rekka though as well, because since Rekka is 8 frames now, that links after B pillar, and there's a lot more untech time on A Rekka, so she could actually combo after that as well. So like her new optimal, she'll do like IC 5C counter hit A Rekka, and she gets a 6-6C link after, which is like her
Man.
new like mid screen optimal. But what I was gonna say is that B pillar is a lot more threatening now because it becomes -4 in install, and -4 like at B pillar range, you're basically safe. And not only that, it's a multi hit, so it's hard to shield.
Oh man, that's like Kuon frame data.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
But the only it's crazy because Kuon has that unlimited uses, but Phonon only gets 3 uses of that. It's pretty curious.
Mm-hmm. Pretty curious.
But usually you have to have like CS to confirm that hit. But in install, there's full untech time until they hit the ground. So if I get you with the anti-air B pillar and install, I have enough time to just run up and do like JC, ICJB, blah blah blah. I think that's a very underrated aspect about that. And play like especially like in matches where they're in the air a lot, like Seth, Yuzu, that's pretty heaven sent, I would say. And there's also another mind game where like, okay, they block B pillar, but they're not aware of the frame data change. I'll go for like a back fireball to crush whatever advancing move they do. That's a low stuff like that.
I've seen Phonon players do B pillar on block and then B pillar again and then get the hit.
Yeah, because players, it's a good check if like players try to like up forward or something, or they like try to go in the air or like backdash or something, try to take space, blah blah blah. That's like a layer 1 thing. I used to do that a lot, but players would dash block in and take space, and like B pillar would whiff again. I'll die. I don't really do that as much, but B pillar and pillar in general is a lot. It's very threatening and installs like a space control anti-air type thing. I will say, I'll get into my problems with the character too, but ICJB I thought was kind of a meme at first.
Oh my god, that move is so annoying.
That is probably one of the best air normals in the game now. Like,
I mean, like
the angle
it's
is so
like
nasty.
on one hand, it's like, oh, I've got obvious counterplay. I can just like, dash
and
up
shield it.
and well, or even like you can roll out of your dash startup like faster than you can run up and shield. So you can actually just like run up and roll and get a punish on the landing. But when I was trying to lab this in Lawn Phonon, I was like, what do you mean that's like run up roll is my most consistent option to deal with this? Like that's actually such a slap in the face.
Yeah, because a
that's
good
so
Phonon
hard to
player
deal with.
will like mix up what they do in the air. They'll do like, okay, like you think I'm gonna JB here? They'll do like JA, land nothing, 2C, or they'll do nothing and like run up, take space. Like a good Phonon player will keep what they're doing ambiguous. But like JB is so crazy because it covers that fireball angle where Phonon would usually throw fireballs, or where people would dash block into the fireball and try to make the frame advantage worse for her too. Or if people try to crouch shield fireball for grid, they get popped. It's very good as a fade back option too, because her Hurtbox retracts during that move. So for example, if someone tries to air assault at me, and that's obviously a strong thing to do in the Phonon matchup, trying to up forward at her, meet her in the air, blah blah blah. But that kind of mitigates that in a sense. Like players had to think twice about that approach against Phonon now, which I really like a lot. It makes certain grounded anti-air normals whiff too. Like I've seen, which is crazy to think about. I've seen that air normal beat Hyde 3C, Byakuya 3C. Like I've seen that move beat a lot of stuff it shouldn't have. And she gets a very easy confirm with it too. She gets J3C, ICJ3C, and it's a good starter too. And what I really like about that move is it's very good combo filler as well. It makes a lot of her harder pickups that she had a lot easier to do. And you don't sacrifice much damage. Like the damage loss is pretty negligible, I would say. So they really made her a more consistent character. This version and a lot of the system changes with like Steer Ender combined with like 6FFC. I really like doing 6FF like CS 6FFC Steer Ender because she gets so much meter into IW. That's like
Oh
one
my
of
god, it lasts for so long.
such
It
a
lasts
good
forever.
such a good round closer. This version, she really utilizes the system mechanics on offense so well. And on top of like 1AD being gone, her strike throw is very
Ooh.
like if you don't have
Yeah.
a DP against Phonon, it's gonna be rough times. Like if I'm on offense against you, like you just have to hope that like you're just raw guessing at that point because she has like so many ways to just crush whatever OS you do. You know, like
It's kind
just
of ironic to me that as far as like phone on corner pressure, I kind of memed in clear. I was like, "Oh, what do you mean they gave phone on like VAT gem loops? That's so crazy." But like as of Uni2, phone on's corner pressure with 6FF is like hands down
it
better
is
than that
100%.
corner gem loop stuff. Like
Her offense this version is obscenely good. I'll say that like her offense and reward on stuff is very good. But here's my problems with the character though. Obviously, defense is a lot more volatile in this game. It's a lot harder. And phone, I will say ST, she did have the best 2A in the game. Her 5-frame 2A in ST was absurdly good. Like no contest best 2A in the game. But now she doesn't have a 5-frame no more, you know. No meterless option, whatever. Like she could do roll now. Like that's cool, you know, but that carries a lot of risks on its own. So like fighting out of situations is very hard. And Phonon's main OS tools are very I would say they're easier to deal with than other OSs because her main OSs now are Up Back Shield OS, FFOS, which isn't good. It's only serviceable when she has Vorpal and JAOS. And a lot of those options could be dealt with fairly easily. So I would say Phonon's a pretty feast or famine character. Like if you get in a defensive situation, you have to hope that you have the right read on what the opponent will do, the right read on their throw timings, blah blah blah. Because if you fight against someone they know your defensive tendencies while you're on the defensiveness Phonon, it's extremely rough. And like, you know, people call me a masher and stuff like that. Whatnot. I don't think I'm a masher. I just think like I have good risk reward. But you kind of have to make some crazy plays like that as Phonon. Because how are you gonna like? You don't want to be in a shitty situation the whole time.
what I will say is like there is such a disparity between when I'm often on offense against a character with meterless reversal options versus when I am against a character that just has system mechanics below 100 meter.
Yeah,
Like I notice the difference so much. And if I can actually just meter starve somebody while staying on offense and they don't have a reversal option, like the number of just sheer guesses that you have to make is it's
it's
pretty rough.
crazy. It's
It's
crazy.
pretty hard to really get out of that unscathed. You just have to you literally just have to be correct more often. It's
Right.
And
That's
I was gonna say
something.
like I feel that's super hard against like Carmine and stuff too.
Yeah, that's something
But
I
I will say,
wanna
oh, okay, you go ahead.
I wanna steer the conversation towards there. What you're talking about is like, as what's the is there a new win condition now? It kind of sounds like that's what you're talking about, Foxof. Is there a difference between the win condition of clear to Uni2 and like which characters are like the best at getting into that win condition, and how does
Right.
that shake up which characters are strong and not?
well, I mean, so it does depend on your opponent because there are some opponents that you just have to play slower against because you don't need to do anything for them to show you everything. Like I'm probably one of those. I'm gonna slam an OS. Okay, at least the first time. Like I'm gonna show you some things. Okay, like and Silent, you may have some reservations. I don't. I'm a masher. Like I'm just
True.
gonna send it sometimes and. So against players like me, I'll throw myself under the bus. Then, like, yeah, you can just play pretty conservatively, but honestly, against a standard veteran uni player, you can just run a lot of strike throw situations, and like Defi has said, just play the odds. And like,
Yeah.
chances are, if you present your offense like that, if you present your offense with throw on the table with them keeping that in mind, then it's hard, so hard to be 100% clean on defense in this game. So it is so much more rewarding in this game to just put them in the guessies as frequently as possible and just reap the rewards when they come.
Yeah.
And if you have CS by, good cycle play, then you can go for those throws without too much risk. You can at least like CS after their throw tech, and especially if you're a character with a meterless reversal, you can just, essentially keep your turn, or at least play an RPS situation where you may be favored, like if they're back to the corner. So yeah, it's UNI2's meta is definitely the most aggressive that Uni has ever
Yeah.
been. In clear, like the joke that, and we had said this on the previous podcast, but like the joke was that Uni Clear was like a survival horror game, and you just wanted to like hold your cards close and just like hold on to your good game state and just don't throw the game. Once you have a life lead, just don't throw. You know? Now it's like don't throw. Instructions unclear. I throw looped them for like, for
Yeah.
20 seconds and now the game's over. So like yeah, you definitely still do have to factor the type of player that you're playing, absolutely. But it's impossible for people to be constantly correct on defense in the way that it used to. I
I
say
agree.
that, but then I'm remembering like Big Black versus Defi at crossover arc and how BB just makes it look like
I
easy.
don't know how he does it. It's an anomaly to this day.
So if it were me, I would simply not OS when I shouldn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
just be correct.
Well, I
There was this
mean,
tweet from Kyo who won.
Evil Japan.
Yeah, and Kyo was like, and obviously I'm running off of Google Translate. I don't speak the language myself, but Kyo was like, it's a really chaotic game. Like
Yeah.
a lot can go really sideways, and the people who can keep control during the chaos and just constantly keep a read on the opponent, that's like the most important thing. Those people are gonna to go the furthest. And I mean, he kind of proved it.
Yeah.
So
I
There's
think
definitely been like a shift of mental for me at least. Is like I have to run in there and get that guy. Like
yeah.
it's crazy. It's nuts. Before I'm just like, okay, I'm chilling, I'm relaxed.
Yeah.
I got the life lead. I don't got to worry about a lot of things. Because the tech window was like 14 frames, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm just guessing, bro. I'm fighting for my life in this corner.
we are all fighting for our lives.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
am fighting for my life. It's crazy.
Well, I know what's so crazy. Like, obviously, I think I'm perceived as a pretty aggressive player, especially compared to the character I play. But it's crazy because I play KOF 2, which is an aggressive game overall. And I'm thinking to myself, God damn, this shit is too aggressive sometimes, Especially when I fight against like Randy. I've been fighting Randy recently. I'm just like, man, how do I get out this situation? Like this offense is just so suffocating. Like the game state, the pace of the game is just going too fast for me sometimes. And
Yeah.
that's a thing I have trouble adjusting with because I am an aggressive player, but I'm aggressive while slowing the pace down. I feel like that's a good way to describe the playstyle I have with Phonon, but I just can't run the same game plan that I'm comfortable running that I'm used to. And I will say I'm more comfortable running it offline, but like on that play, I'm just like, man, I just do not feel confident with my decisions on offense. Places where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take space, I'm gonna take initiative. I'm like hesitating all the time. It's very scary because obviously if you mess up one time in this game, you could lose the round of the game.
Yeah.
That's the game we play now. Like they thought Uni was a killing game back then, but no, this is the killing game we thought it used to be.
I was talking to I DM Brett at some point. I can't remember if I had brought this up on the previous podcast, but I DM Brett and was like, "So what actually changed from EL to ST to make it seem like a more aggressive game, because like that's what I heard from everybody. I never played EL, so like when I play EL players, it feels like they are playing all the more paced, like all the more like cards to the chest. The ST players like maybe a little bit more aggressive than the EL players, and I was like, why is that? And his response surprised me because I expected him to say that like, offense wasn't as good or anything like that. And he was like, no, it's just that like we got used to the idea that if certain characters were on the screen and you got hit once, you could then, make a wrong second guess and pretty much the round was over. And I was like, are you serious? I think he's mostly talking about like Carmine, but the idea that the game slows down because you're both just like, like I can't mess up, that's how I've felt. It's actually like the last time I played BB, it was that exhibition, and that wasn't quite the vibe on that one, but especially the first few times that I played BB this version, it was so funny looking back on those matches because we're both just like doing the Street Fighter walk back and forth like 3/4 screen, and it's not because I'm trying to like. I swear to God, I'm not memeing, but my mental stack is so full. It's like uh you go, no you go, no you go, so in that sense like the uni stare downs, they've moved away from like we're staring down because we're like in an OS situation, we just want to see what the other person does, or like maybe reaction tech out of this down back situation here. It's less that, and it's more just like, oh my God, if I move the wrong way I die.
Yeah.
That's what the uni stare down is about now. So yeah,
Well,
it's pretty overwhelming sometimes.
well, speaking of reaction tech, and you guys talking about how strong BB's defense is, I would like to ask you, BB, about how your defensive mindset has kind of changed in this version, because I think we can all probably agree that BB's got like the best defense out of anybody,
Yeah.
and just in
Yeah.
terms of like consistency and not getting opened up. So, is there something that like you really had to like was really hard for you to adjust to, or like something that you're using that you weren't even considering in clear or anything like that?
Uh, no. I honestly, the way I approach defense now is the same as clear, at least offline. I feel like offline, I can play defense to the same level that I always have, but when I play the game online, I'm just like, oh, uh, I don't know, it's a little rough. But
What
Yeah,
I
I feel the
mean,
same way.
for the most part, even though the meta shifted more towards offense, I feel like a lot of the scenarios where you are put on defense, you can apply the same thought process you had before. It's just depending on the type of player you are. Like I know for Omni, it's kind of hard trying to 3-cat,
Yeah,
with how they change the inputs and everything in this game.
for sure.
So if you were a player who was more reliant on that type of OS, like being in a high pressure situation and having to rely on yourself to make that proper timing on your inputs can be way more stressful.
Yeah.
Don't even get me
But
started on week one, bro. That week one, oh my
Oh yeah,
god,
dude.
that
It's
was
it's
ridiculous.
it has certainly gotten better, but even after the input was improved upon,
Yeah.
I was still kind of left with the idea that like there are times when you
Mhm.
can input your OS the way that you want to, or the way that you need to, and then there are times when you're thrust into the throw situation so quickly that literally you just kind of have to commit to, well, I guess I'm either gonna press the AD button or I'm not. Like
Yeah.
I just have to either tech or not, because I just don't have time to OS in this particular situation.
see, for me, at least in terms of the initial release, like going to Frosty's and playing offline and comparing that experience to playing at crossover, I felt like I was playing a whole different game.
Yeah,
Even though it
for
was
sure.
only a few months apart. It's really like I don't know.
It's like stand teching leaking as much as it did like week one. Jeez, man, I was getting
Yeah.
murdered, bro. I was getting
Yeah.
absolutely demolished with the kind of player I was who like crunched on 3-cat heavy. It was just like a completely different game. I remember
I,
molding so much.
I think you could say like the inverse because I really saw myself relying on assault like crazy,
Mm.
like
Like
week
on the
one
offensive
because
side, yeah.
yeah, like media delay assault because people were just getting accidental stand techs all day because their OS was messed up. So I'm just like, okay,
Right.
I'm gonna just do media assault all day. Like, why not? You know, it's free. But yeah, like that fix to like the whole like OS's the whole input thing definitely yeah, what BB said really makes a lot of sense. I really did feel myself changing my play,
Right.
like having to change the way I played again, like a month or so into the game's lifespan.
Yeah. That shit was like the barbaric times week one, man, and then week two patch happened. We're
It,
back to the
like
modern times.
like week one we were like rubbing the sticks together. Week two the
Yeah,
fire like
dude.
finally appeared.
It is kind of interesting having like both you and Big Black and Omni on here because like you guys are both like you're very hard to open up, but you play defense very differently. Like in terms of clear,
Yeah.
where Omni is, this is not disrespectful. You were a lot more active on defense.
Yeah.
Um, so it's interesting seeing the adjustments. Also, kind of a side note, but as the tech window is a little bit smaller, but also I'm sure you guys have been playing the game and you get thrown and you're like, that was a TRM?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot. I forgot to talk about that. Oh my god, thank you. Because Lamp was asking about this after crossover arc, and I actually was kind of surprised that he was just seeing it then. But the throw tech window, or I guess the TRM window, is so big that you don't need
It's
to
huge.
do a gold throw in order to get one anymore. You can just poke someone. You can just press your 5A or your 2A,
Yep.
and if they OS'd in that timing, like during the block stun, you then go to throw them, and it is a counter hit throw that they
Yeah.
cannot tech.
Yep.
And so if, like, let's say Hyde runs up to you, Hyde does like dash up 2AA, right? If you teched during that 2AA, he has so much time. He can like dash up, counter hit, throw you, and you genuinely have to guess between 2AA, oh, I teched, I can either take the throw or I can like mash or jump or something like that. So then like 2AA throw versus 2AA 2C becomes like a true guess. And it's like,
Yeah.
was this intended? Are we really supposed to be playing like this? Because that's brutal.
It
Like
is
that's
brutal.
really brutal.
That's why I think Hyde is so strong this version. I know that's a topic we'll get to later, but still,
we can go into it
like,
right now. We can talk about like, are there any characters that have just like shot up the tier list that are just because of all these changes, or on the other hand, are other characters who have just like kind of fell off?
I have two characters specifically, which is ironic considering how, how tight they are in the lore. I guess I'll start with the obvious one, Hyde. But Hyde is different because he progressively gets better each version, right? Like
Mhm.
his strength has gotten higher gradually. But I think what he does now, I think this is the strongest he's ever been. I personally think Hyde is a top 3 character right now. Um, Especially with the point Foxof made about how the TRM window is so strong. I was playing Infinity in a set, not too long ago, and he would do 2A, the longest delay throw, and I'm like, okay, this OS should work here. I get counter hit thrown, I lose. And then his staggers are so much better than what they used to be because Hyde's, prominent weakness in the past was he doesn't have the best staggers. He has a lot of like gapless stuff, blah blah blah. But that problem's basically addressed now. And on top of that, his combos and pickups mid screen are a lot more consistent too. His frame data on a lot of things have been improved as well. And I think he has one of the best force functions in the game. I think 2FF is obscenely strong. I
Dude,
think that is
I
an
used to
exceedingly
think
strong
that
special.
I used to think that like Clear Vat just kind of clowned on Hyde because of her barrier that they introduced. I was like, I don't know, this just feels like really, really out of Hyde's favor whenever I played it. And now when I play Vat Hyde, I'm like, oh my god, I'm struggling because even when I barrier the 2FF, then he still special cancels and I still special cancel. But no matter what I do, other than like gem set, I guess, he's recovering before I do. So it's like that used to be the answer for that is like, oh, that's fine, I'll just barrier. And now it's like even that doesn't really get you out of it. Like granted he had to spend the grid for it, but like he just owns the neutral now. And then like you're telling me my option is like, okay, just jump assault against Hyde. Word. I'll just do that.
Yeah.
You're right.
I think like the twinkle toes approach, I like to call it for Hyde, is also ridiculous. This version, he just walks up slightly,
Yeah.
backdash, and then
His
Oh my
shimmy
God.
is
you're
absurd.
cooked.
Man.
It's
His
over. It's
his
so
his backdash
frustrating.
being tuned just so that he always can 6B punish you if you tech. Like
Right.
that's pretty wild that you can like be mid screen with him and like post CS you're mid screen with him and you're like, all right, I'm out of here, or like I'm just gonna like stand tech post CS.
Mhm.
And all he has to do is backdash. He doesn't have to do like a high crush or something like that. That like totally shifts the risk reward. Like it sucks, man.
It sucks. It's so frustrating. It's probably the most tilting thing for me in the game when Hyde
Yeah.
backdashes on me. It's so frustrating.
And it's such a layer one interaction too. Like like they're gonna go for like some funny shimmy and like you still get tagged and you
It's
get
the
your
first
throw
thing they
baited.
do.
It's so demoralizing. And on top of that, the reward is so like
It's high.
Yeah.
It's huge.
it's so high.
I also
And
think like the
oh
throw
my god.
recovery whiff got bigger this version, right? So you're really
Yes,
just
yes.
hunkered down and committed to that throw
Yeah.
whiff.
I can't remember like how much more recovery it has, but it's definitely enough that
You can notice it.
most characters can just like run up backdash and punish you for teching. So uh yeah, it's rough. Also, by the way, since we were talking about 2FF on Hyde and we're talking about, backdash OS baiting, his 2FF OS surprisingly good. And if you
Yeah.
like it's actually pretty tough to crush. It's so much more intimidating to do like delay button on your offense to catch an OS in this version because of like you're just so conditioned to believe that every time you run up, you could get the throw incidented into the corner and lose. Like if you play your offense too loose, like instead of doing like a little sprinkle of delay, you just like pour the whole thing in and you get counter hit thrown into the corner. Like man, it could happen to you. So having to deal with OSs with delayed buttons feels like just like small delay buttons feels pretty dicey to me.
I can't even count how many times I've done dash up delay 3C and I've gotten counter hit thrown. It's actually just
It's
Yeah.
so
insane.
I feel this like when I go for like delay 6xb or like TK Fireball OS crushes Phonon, and like right when I'm about to finish the input and the move I get thrown, I just like my heart explodes every
Yeah.
single I think that's one of the worst feelings
The
in this
throw
game.
incident.
It's kind of
Eh,
crazy. Like the inverse is the other guy on the other screen. Like on the other screen, it's like let's fucking go, my defense.
Yes.
like and the entire like flow of the game just falls on its head. Like it's insane. I was gonna say another character though that I'll be real, this take might have been controversial looking back on it because I've been seeing this character get rated extremely high overseas.
Oh
Y'all probably
no.
Don't tell
yeah.
me it's Gord.
No.
Okay, okay.
No.
I
I
also don't
know what
think
he's gonna say. Oh.
yeah. So this Orie character is like I've
Hmm.
been thinking about it a lot. I will say this is biased because I think Phonon is very, very, very strong against Orie. I think that's one of Orie's hardest matchups for her. And not only that, but that's like I think that's the matchup I have the most experience in. I've been playing that matchup since I started playing this game against Frozen Core 4. Then Norse moved to Texas for a bit. Then obviously Luna too. And now Pesto's playing Orie. Like I have a lot of experience in that matchup. But it's interesting how JP thinks this character, like I've been seeing this character S tier, top 3, top 5, everywhere.
Yeah,
And
man.
I will say the JP Ories are on a different level. Like I
Mhm.
think we all know that. And even like, Isaac said, he literally said it on Twitter today. Jew says the same thing. A lot of people, it's a pretty common consensus. But I've started noticing things about the character that I may have overlooked. For example, her 4AA is probably the best in the game.
Yeah.
Very good.
Her 4AA is obscenely good. I think Orie, obviously Orie, her offense is very safe, non-committal offense, plays at very good spacings. And I think that works to an advantage this version. She really has a lot of spacing traps. She could outspace you in a lot of ways. Her pressure is very safe too. She's a neutral monster. And I really think that works to her advantage in this version. And on top of that, her main weakness, which was her damage not being good, is she does a lot of damage this version. And now she doesn't get blown up on defense anymore because she actually has a reversal. So you have to play around that too as well.
Yeah, having a meterless reversal is like so much bigger of a pro than it was. I think like it's just such a big deal. Like because of the dynamic of meter starved characters who don't have options when they don't have meter, like suffering so much by comparison. Like they don't even have to show it. Like they don't have to DP me necessarily for me to like just be like thinking about it in the back of my mind as an option. Like even just for things like you have CS. If you have a
Mhm.
meterless reversal, that means so much more. If you don't have a meterless reversal and you get CS, honestly, you should probably just blow that like as
Yeah,
soon as possible so that you get meters so that you actually do have options. Like it can be a lot more threatening to have 100 meter on defense than to have CS if you're a character that doesn't have a meterless reversal.
I
So,
agree.
uh, yeah, that certainly has changed a lot of my dynamics with Orie. Like just having a BDP with info is a big deal.
I will say another thing that Orie really didn't have was she really wasn't good. Like, remove the concept of Vorpal strips. Let's say Vorpal strips weren't clear and whatnot in the past versions. She really didn't have ways to secure cycle that well if she got a hit. But now with her new EX move,
Yeah, that
is it?
ender is so good for her.
It is
The
so good.
the one where Thanatos goes up and then goes
Yeah.
down. Like she can
Uh.
just concentrate through all of it and like
Yep.
get a nice grid lead. Or she can do like increased B thrust and add on a lot of nice damage
Hmm.
to like otherwise kind of whatever starters. Like
Yep.
yeah, she benefits so much from having good EX enders. Because that kind of wasn't the case. Like
Yeah. That was a big weakness she had too. Like like it was good for round closeouts, but outside of that, like you really kept your meter for stuff like 22C and things like that. But now she has a legitimate meter dump now. And not having a meter dump like that in previous versions is pretty detrimental, I would say. So her having access to that is a very big deal too. I really never thought about how important that special really is. And also she has ways to be plus in your face without having to do something super risky like let's say 2-2 like 2C and a like 2-2A or something like in your face, extremely fake, or doing something fake like thrust 2-2C. Like she actually has non-committal ways to spend bar and keep her turn now, which I think is also extremely important as well.
so are we let's see. Are we going around talking about just like meta characters right now? Because I could mention Lon, but I feel like I've beaten a dead horse already talking about
Yeah.
Lon. So
Yeah.
I want to bring up Carmine because
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh Lord have mercy.
Duffy recently tweeted out like, "Am I crazy for thinking that Hyde is like 2 tiers above Carmine?" And I was like, "Yeah." Yeah, I kind of think you are. Like I could see you putting Hyde above Carmine potentially, but not that much higher because I think Carmine's just stability and offensive potential and just ability to uh like Spinach described it as a vortex where like you can really lock people down, and as long as you are willing to spend your first wheel just sitting there and checking, there's really nothing that they can do. They just have to hold that, you know. I do think that like for as strong as bomb shimmies are, they are really, really, really strong. I mean, it almost reduces it to just like a binary guess. Um, as strong as that is, like I still think that the fuzzy stuff is like really good and really important. Like I actually wasn't sure how I'd feel about that because like I kind of used to think that like players like Spinach may have like a bit of an obsession with getting their 4K fuzzy overhead
Yeah.
and like maybe fixating a little too hard on that, maybe not doing bomb shimmy stuff enough. But now that I've seen kind of the other end of that, which is Defi like mostly just leaning into the bomb shimmies and not really going for the high low stuff so much, I feel like I can confidently say actually now that like Carmine is worth it for the bomb shimmy stuff and is worth it for the high low stuff.
Yeah.
And the reward on the high low stuff, if he just gets if he checks you the right way, like if he knows you're fuzzying, so he does 623B to catch your fuzzy inputs, and you just explode.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Actual pick your
man.
adventure character. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the
So
way he
I
decides open you up.
think that you do have to do everything. Like you have to have a full grasp of the kit to like really see the full potential of the character. But the fact that you don't even need to do all that and you can just bomb shimmy and like blow people up pretty stably with that is like, you know, I in ST I had Carmine as like the coolest character ever, but like the highest amount of effort put in to the lowest return back. And now it's like never mind, you know, never mind. You can put some minimal effort into like learning what you're supposed to do with Carmine, and as soon as you get into your win condition, it's like, all right, we're good, we're cooking, you know. It's hard not to, you know. So I do think that he still requires a lot of time and execution and nuance if you really want to, you know, show everything that the character can do. But man, just at a baseline, just like his regular corner offense now is so good. And like things that I never saw as that much of an issue, suddenly you see like the evolution of like what's possible now and it's like, "Oh my god." Like getting hit by a counter hit 2-2B across the screen, he dashes all the way over to you and gets like his 3 point something confirm and you're like, "Oh, word, okay." You know? So Carmine,
Carmine is very strong.
yeah.
I'll just leave
Yeah.
it at that.
I
That
think
character is ridiculous.
I think I was a bit overzealous putting him top one. Like when I made that tier list a while ago, but I think like top 5 is probably a safer bet for me. I think one thing that's kind of overlooked, and I talked to Pesto about this recently, was how they buffed 2C. Since it
Oh my
OTGs
god.
now,
That's oh my god. Dude,
that's basically
That buff,
solved so much for the
have
character.
I
that
have 2
buff was
gig.
so unnecessary.
I have 2 gig at my Boston local, and 2 gig's whole thing right now is just playing around that tip 2C spacing and like and it's just it feels so threatening because 2C also hits really really high. So like I go to low crush with like C Rekka or J3B or something like I would against characters like Wagner or even Byakuya. Even Byakuya 2B is looking jealously, enviously at Carmine 2C, like, oh, that's pretty nice, you know? Like, it's really hard to get over that thing. And yeah, getting hit by it at the tip, he rebeats, and then he does the same thing and
That's
gets
the
his
that's the 2 gig special, 2C,
yeah,
2A whiff.
man.
Like I played
It's
him in a long set a few days ago, and I was like, man, how how do I approach this? Like I try to check the rebeat, I get cooked. Like it's just so good.
it was
And
it was so funny. I was playing against him like one of the first weeks, and I like ran into mid screen. I did like run up, and I was gonna like run up, and I was like, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna run up. I know he's gonna try and intercept me with this, so I'm just gonna run up, and then I'm gonna walk back a little bit, and it's gonna whiff. It did not whiff. You know?
Yeah, the 2C OTGing is something I talked about with Pesto too, where he says it's like the the Eltnum like 214 thing, where like having to
yeah,
OTG with 2A was like a a test of a troop Carmine player, but
yeah,
now the routing's just way easier.
yeah. He also said that too. Like I mean, Carmine is still a hard character compared to a majority of the cast, but Pesta really did make the point of his ease of use is a lot higher now. And he really thinks Carmine's game plan is a lot easier to run in this version of the game compared to past versions too, which I definitely agree with.
Mhm.
A character that I kind of wanted to get into low key and like figure out what your guys' thoughts on this character was, because this character makes me mauled crazy. Nanase, I don't know.
Oh man.
This
Oh
character
my
gets me so
goodness, man.
mad, bro. You know the meme of the guy sweating, he's playing the video game, and then the other POV is the guy singing Payphone by
Like
Maroon
just
5? Oh my
vibes, bro.
god.
Like, oh,
It's
this character is so
crazy.
frustrating, man.
I,
Like,
like, ugh.
like what?
2-2C being the way it is, and like just kind of invalidating some counterplay, and also like the general buff she had, the 214C change as well, where you can't shield last
Yeah,
hit anymore, bro. Like, oh my
yeah,
Dude,
god.
the 214 A and B change where she just like picks up with 2A is like, oh my god, her mid screen presence is like so scary now. Like I used to have a nice pleasant RPS triangle for Nanase neutral.
agreed.
And then, the meterless reward on 214B was introduced, and I was like,
Mhm.
oh, like my bad. All right, you got it.
And like
So
the crazy thing is, like, Gray Faden dropped the character. What
dude,
what happened?
Dude, dude, man, every Nanase player that like dropped the character, like 2 gig, I'll give him some slack because he's a Carmine main at heart. Like
Right, yeah.
at the
I
end
can
of the
see
day,
that.
he this is what he wanted. He wanted to play Carmine because he's good again, blah blah blah. But like, I'm just like, how do you
yeah,
think?
two gig thinks Nanase is absolutely ridiculous.
Mm.
Like, how
Uh,
do you think this character is weak this version? Like, I don't. Okay, yeah, they nerfed 214B or J236B, but who cares? Like, her neutral is so strong,
So good.
and her 22X in general is such a hard special to deal with.
Mhm.
Specifically, the after the knockdown, 22X after the knockdown, so rough to deal
oh
with.
my god, when you're in the corner and you've got the spinning disc directly in front of you, and it feels like what they gave Akiha in
Yeah,
more recent multi-blood type Lumina stuff, where the wheel just fades back towards her, and so you've got this active hitbox in front of your face that she can move
Yeah.
freely around in. And you're just like, God, just a crumb of block stun would be nice, actually, but this is feeling pretty bad. I mean, I play lawn, so I can up back ice rain, but like everything other than that feels just like suicidal. It just
Right.
feels so bad.
BB, I gotta hear your thoughts on honestly this version, bro. Like,
I
I
mean,
know you have some reservations about the character.
to be honest, I might have been spoiled back in ST watching Hishigata play a lot against Lamp, but
Yeah,
I've always thought Nanase was ridiculously good. I never thought she was bad, or like any of her struggles would put her lower on a tier list. But now it's just like there's no way Nanase is not. She definitely at minimum she has to be top 10 in my opinion.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's no way she could be lower than that. Like everything she
What a
does
brave
is
take,
safe.
damn. No one could have seen this.
I thought he was gonna say like
Like
top 4 or something.
Yeah.
Nanase, everything like she might be she's one of, if not the most low committal characters in the game.
Dude. The
Right.
character's
Yeah.
scrubby. I'm
Like
sorry. The character's so scrubby.
everything she does is safe. She's not taking risks ever.
She
And wanna
throws
what's
out
so
fireball,
crazy?
man. Oh my
Wanna what's
goodness.
so crazy? Like when they do like sword card in the 2-2C and your green shield comes out and like you get cooked.
You
I
get grid broken.
I
Yeah.
hate that
Yeah,
so much.
dude.
Like, oh my
I've
goodness.
I've gone into the lab like I'm not crazy, right? I can shield this, right? Like it's not just me, right? Yeah, not to say 2 will have you questioning your whole fighting game career, man.
Like, and you
Which
try to like up back out. You're like, okay, let me up back out of this real quick, or like shield and like up back, whatever. Like, and you get cooked. Like they're gonna run up 3C you, like, or
Whichever
you like try
The
to
thing
up.
about that RPS that sucks is that like if she does sword card follow up into 2-2C, she's 0.
But
So
it
if
doesn't
you
even matter.
shield, yeah, it doesn't matter. If you shield, it's not like one of those situations where, oh, I can make a move here and probably try to get away from this. No, that thing is coming back. And she's a 5-framer, so either way, she's gonna RPS with something. She's gonna press.
Right.
Dude,
Something that's happened against Bolt Struck a few times, or I've seen him do it, is he'll do it, 2-2C comes out, and then he'll just ADP, and then
yes, yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Oh my.
I was actually gonna
bro.
say
Toxic.
whichever Nanase lab that can go to hell. Oh my god,
Like,
man.
so cheese, bro. Like, dude. Bro, wanna what Nanase 2? This is gonna be a crazy comparison, but wanna what Nanase 2-2C reminds me of? It reminds me like you drive by a policeman and like they drive past you thinking like, okay, like I'm fine. Then they drive back, turn around with the sirens on, and they pull you over. That's what that shit is like, bro.
These
Like,
analogies this session is crazy, man.
like I'm
They
sorry.
busted out 5 of these motherfuckers, bro.
Like, bro, that's how it is. Like, dude. Like, oh my goodness. That
Yeah, no,
character
not to
is
say it's
ridiculous.
ridiculous. I don't like her. I don't like the players either. They're just doing shit, man. It's so
You,
frustrating.
you literally like roll your face. Like I had to keep it like I was gonna say something like even crazier, but out of respect for Lid, I'm not going to. So you just roll your like face over like yours. No, they all play on like hitbox now. So you roll your face on
Yeah.
like the hitbox and like do whatever you want with the character. It's like, like I don't think she's a difficult character to play. Her game plan is extremely easy. Her tools, their ease of use are so easy too. Like I just I don't know how anyone could like downplay this
Yeah.
character with like good conscience. Like it's like when people like you know they're lying because they're trying to hold them to laugh while they're bullshitting like in your face. Like that's what I see when like Nanase players be like downplaying, bro. Like they know they're like on some nonsense.
You know that meme that
I will
was
say, no, you go first, Tommy.
I was just gonna say, you know that meme that's been circling around that it's just God at the pearly gates. He's like, bro, you played Carmine. I was waiting for the Nanase
Yeah.
edit of that. I was waiting for the Nanase edit of that, man.
I will
And
say,
Nanase players
recently,
were like too like they were heard about like the. I'll just I'll hold my tongue on that. I'll hold my tongue.
so I did, don't ask me why, but I did just like up back, increase JC, and I counter hit the recovery of Nanase 5B, and I could just hear the Hallelujah chorus. I was like, no way, like. Is this move fair-ish now? Like, is that? I do appreciate that, like in this version, just like pretty much universally, things are like easier to whiff punish. I
Right.
remember, like after I played the bracket in Combo Breaker 2019, I was chilling with like Fendo, Isaac, Venice, and Infinity, and a few others, and Infinity was like we kind of just aired our issues with Uni, and Infinity was like, imagine whiff punishing in Uni. Like it's so hard to
Yeah.
whiff punish in this game that it is such a viable neutral strategy for so many characters to whiff option into faster option. You know, like
Mm,
I'm gonna like whiff 5C as Wald and then 6B. Did you try and do something? You know, like
Whiff to whiff
it's
punish.
it's
Yeah.
as simple as that, you know, and
Oh no,
these
Nanase
are
players still getting away with that. They whiff like 2B, 2B, 5B, 5B, and you get tagged. Like I don't
oh
know.
my god. You know what's the worst is when you start to trust it's like when you start to respect Merkava whiffing dive kick. It's like when you start to trust them whiffing buttons because you don't trust that you can like interrupt the next one. So then you like shield and they like whiff 2B and run up and grid break throw you. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just me, but like
No,
oh my
it's like
god.
it's that like I don't know if y'all seen this, but LeBron James like made this tweet like in these exact words. Maybe it's just me. Like, if you're a sports fan, like me, like BB knows the context of this. But if you're a sports fan, like you'll definitely get it. But maybe it is just me when like shit like that happens.
Yeah.
You know, it's absurd.
Yeah, I remember
All right.
thinking when I was first playing Kaguya, I was like, wow, this Kaguya 5C button is like really good at whiff punishing, and it is. But I also realized I was like, oh, these normals just have Hurtboxes now. I was like, I'm whiff
Yeah.
punishing Lene 5C. Like that was not something that was possible.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say,
Dude,
Foxo?
the Hilda matchup, I notice it
It's so much better
so
now. So
much.
much better now.
Well, and especially, I mean, I noticed it too because I'm throwing out 4C, which is like the fishing with dynamite, quote unquote, footsie's normal, you know. So, uh, I see some crazy hurtbox interactions using that move. So,
Are there
all right,
I
so
don't know
any?
about y'all, but I'm getting fried by Hilda this version still. This shit's crazy, man.
I haven't
You
fought
know?
her enough. I will say that. Like, but no one's like Lotus or Renala, I guess that's the type they're using. Like, they haven't been. I mean, they're not a fan of this version. I haven't played
Mhm.
Untold yet. Like, there's no other like. I mean, Fern's been playing a lot too, but I mean, there's really not much Hilda rep
Right.
in the States. You know, in the grand scheme of things, like it's hard to really get like a true taste of that matchup now.
I've loved watching Mawaru from afar
Oh my god, the
because
JP scene, they
dude,
like think Hilda
Mawaru,
is
I
trash.
I love like I actually really like Mawaru as a player, you know, and I like watching them play and stuff like that. But dude, watching Mawaru cope on Twitter about Hilda has been like my soap
It,
opera that I tune into. You know, it's just been so
so
addicting to just like,
crazy.
you know, pop some popcorn and just see like how Mawaru is feeling about Hilda on any given day. It's not good, you know. Mawaru is going through it, but I mean I agree that like there are definitely some things that require different approaches from the Hilda player, but like I don't think that she's definitely still doing some really nasty things, especially
I
like
think Roomba is a very strong special.
yeah, I think that when she gets her good conditions going, especially like God forbid you ever give her Celestial, um
Yeah.
the sheer amount of guessing that you have to do on like Roomba setups and how safe she relatively can be after them, even in places where like Gloom would not necessarily cover her. It's ridiculous, you know, like you could be holding a lot. So while Roll is like super effective against her, and for the most part, and like she has hurt boxes on her normals now, like there's just a lot of new stuff to deal with, and some stuff is just still going to be hard. You know, I personally I really like Hilda in this version because like sorry, let me clarify. I like playing against Hilda in this version because it feels like her 50-50 actually has any sort of risk reward attached to
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
Like being able to shield the second hit of her overhead and punish her.
That is such a good change. Like,
Yeah, it really is a good change. Because then, like, I know that, like, in previous versions, it really was just like a coin flip between the high and the low. And it's like, if you guess correctly on the high, like, yes,
it doesn't
her
matter.
turn would end, but with so much pushback and, like, that kind of hard to act out of frame data, Like I saw so many instances of people doing like quote unquote the right thing, but then they just weren't on the ball in the next
Yeah.
interaction, and they just like get, I don't know, dive kicked or something like that, and it's just like, man. And when like I grew, like my first game was MKX. We were talking about this before we started recording here, and that game is like a ton of 50/50s, but the way that it's interactive with high-low is that there's always one that is like more rewarding and there's one that is more risky. And you have to balance between the two and like condition between them. And just having that dynamic at play, knowing that like if they don't have a really strong setup to back it up, that the overhead is punishable, that feels so good that like you can actually make educated guesses on like where they're going to go, and like get a decent reward if you guess correctly on the overhead. Like that makes a world of difference for me in terms of like feeling like I'm interacting with the other player. So when are we going to talk about the K word?
Well, I was gonna ask if there's any other characters you guys feel like are really strong, but I wanted to ask too. I don't know if you guys like have a top 3 for this game, but is there anyone in like that you think is like super strong top 3 that we haven't touched on?
Uh, hmm.
There's
I
like
mean, my top 3 is Hyde, Lond.
Yeah, we talked about Lond. I know
yeah.
Lond is in
Mhm.
my top 3 for sure.
What about
I don't know if
Yuzu?
Hyde is. Yuzu, yeah. I don't know if there's even a reason to tell. It's hard to argue Yuzu is still up there because she's not getting nerfed and she's never has.
Like
So
she
it's
has the
like,
best force function in the game. Like
yeah,
2FF needs to be discussed.
Oh yeah.
The whiff
Like
2FF 6C
Oh,
on nice.
I hate
and
yeah.
it.
like
I hate it.
360 hurt box all around. Like you can't even cross it up. It is
It's really good.
insane how good that is.
It's really easy to pick up off of too, man. It's really, really easy.
And like her game plan, I think Yuzu is just one of those characters where like what she does and her toolkit will always be strong, no matter what the version. I think she will forever be the most consistent character. Like she will always be good, no matter what. I
I
think.
don't necessarily know if I would say that she's good because she's consistent. I feel like that's really hard. What I
Well,
would say
well,
about
I meant to
Yuzu
say
is
her kit is consistently good. I think
yeah,
that's a
okay,
better
yeah,
way.
yeah,
That's a
absolutely.
better
But
way
like
to word it.
I think so Ohito, it kind of cracked me up on one of the clear tier lists that he did because someone asked about Yuzu not being, in his, I think, top 5 or whatever, and his response was actually just that like because Yuzu has so much going on as far as piloting her, that if you make one mistake, you could be put in such a bad situation that you don't
Yeah.
recover from. And making up a life lead, like coming back from a life deficit, is so hard that like Yuzu is really her own beast. She's definitely good, and she's overwhelmingly good in some matchups. But there's such a heavy onus on the player to
I agree.
be that consistent.
Yeah.
So I have some sympathy for the Yuzu players who genuinely want to play all 99 seconds. That's really hard. So she's super
Especially
good.
now
She's
since the timer
super
is
good.
longer.
Yeah, yeah, that's
So
true.
weird. I forgot that was it's so strange. Why is the timer longer now, man?
But yeah, so I think Yuzu's super good. I just think that she requires a lot to reach her full potential. Like her ceiling's super super high. A character that I think uh I don't necessarily know if I would like say he's top 3, but I think he's worth mentioning for sure.
I know exactly what you're gonna say. I know exactly what you're gonna say. I should have said this too, actually.
Yeah, I think I'm in the rare position of agreeing with some Japanese tier list opinions on Waldstein. I feel like
Yeah,
Waldstein is like
Yeah.
really,
Mm.
really good this version.
I think Joe is gonna show us something next weekend for sure
Mm.
with this character. I think his 623A buff
Oh my god.
is
Uh,
that buff was crazy.
Dude, I've been seeing
I know
people
it.
do it
I
on
know it
Wake Up.
has a.
Yeah, because like you're guessing between like, are they gonna do like 360C? Like, are they gonna do like Command Grab and Wake Up, blah blah blah? And like they just do that on Wake Up. They gotta confirm off it now. Like,
The
oh my
mental
goodness.
stack that you have to juggle if you genuinely want to respond correctly to just like super flash situations, 360C versus 214C, can you do it on reaction? You've seen that meme where it's like that's reactable, can you react to it? And he's like, it's like in the heat of the moment, especially with the changes to the way super flashes come out now, being frame 3 instead of frame 1, like,
Yeah.
and 214C side swapping you and being plus if you block it. Oh my god. This character is really hard to deal with when he gets meter. And his
His
offense
neutrals,
is like,
his neutral's so much better too because of 2-2x.
oh my god, yeah, like
Yeah.
it's not a. I'm not used to Wald being out of what I think of his effective range and having as much neutral presence as what I think of as being like zoners or neutral dominant characters. You know, like yes, it has a lot of recovery. Like I when I was playing Joe, like I did like run up J3B, like a pretty high one over it to whiff punish, and I was like, okay, yeah, but it's like having to scout for things like that on that type of character is like so so bizarre and so difficult, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Wald is, he's like far and away as good as he's ever been. And like I know that you could point at any character among the cast and be like, yeah, they really benefit from the system changes. It's just like you can say that about anybody, it just depends on how. But in his case, it's like he used to get slapped on the wrist so hard from combat grid for the opponent being in a combo for too long when he did guard
Yep.
press.
Yep.
And now it's like instead of working against him, all of these things that take so long to come out,
Work in
like
his favor now.
yeah, the amount of times that you get like 360 seed after a few successful shields, now the cycle is shorter and he does like a late CS as he wins cycle during his like reversal command grab and just like, you know, does another 40% on you and takes you to the corner. It's like, all right, cool, you know? And oh my god, when you're in the corner and you're like guessing against this grappler character and he's got CS, and if you take the throw, you're like potentially he cashes out like when he's got full resources and just like takes half your health bar and you just lose. You just lose off
Yeah.
that bad guess. It's really hard, you know? So I think that like his thing used to be that just he had some terrible, terrible matchups and like a really hard time in neutral, and that like
Yeah.
his turn would sometimes be very, very brief. Um, you know, he has a lot of issues that make up a really interesting character identity, I think, and some of those are still the case. Like his defense is still pretty hard to play when he's not rotating through his meter options. Like when you're running strike throw on Wald, you feel as strong as you ever are going to be running strike throw for the most part. But then it's like if you guess wrong and he does tech your throw, now you're in a nasty 50-50 situation, you know? So yeah, I don't know if that character is top 3. I just don't know if the matchup spread like merits him necessarily being that strong, but oh my god,
I think that's a
that
character you always have to
character.
consider.
Absolutely. Like, I don't feel like putting Wald in the top 10 is like a super hot take in this version. I think that that's like actually pretty reasonable.
Yeah, he's definitely moved up a lot compared to where he was before.
Before we move on to I want to talk about each of the 3 new characters. But is there anyone else anyone wants to bring up?
No, I think
Mm,
I got all my grievances out.
Is
about
it
yeah, I got,
Kuon
characters.
time?
I got the Nanase, I think. Ugh.
Sounds like it's Kuon time.
Yay.
So, what do you
Yeah,
guys
I
think
like
about
I have my
Kuon?
reservations about that character too.
We were kind of talking about it. I was hearing you guys chat about it before the podcast. I don't remember if it was BB or Foxof, or actually, I don't remember who it was. Talking about how like his float mix is tougher to deal with offline than online, like
It was
or
BB. Yeah.
other way
Other way,
around. Yeah.
other way around. That
Yeah,
when you
online is definitely more of it feels like a guess. than offline.
Do you think that
I
like
don't know what it is. Like it could be just because online varying connections, whatever it may be.
And
But
people's PCs like run the game like differently
yeah,
too.
but I mean, at least for me, I don't know about everyone else, but I feel like playing offline in tournament, I feel like I might have been fighting Kuon more than anyone so far, for whatever the reason may be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have a problem dealing with his offense offline very much at all, to be completely honest.
I
Yeah,
think the problem
I
with him.
really if you don't mind, I'll just add that like I was playing with Mosin in what I thought was like, pretty good connection. Like 80 ms across the pond is not too bad. And like, we both have pretty good internet now, and
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so I can pretty much take this for face value. So like when I get opened up, I'm malding. I'm like really, really frustrated. And so then finally I, played some Kuon offline at crossover, and it was a whole new world, and it was just like a bittersweet experience of like, okay, thank God, I actually can block this character, but also dang, the rollback is not carrying like I thought
Right.
it might.
Yeah.
There's definitely a big difference. So like when you're trying to block Kuon online, that's like when you have to start experimenting with other options that do not involve blocking because because you can't block them all online. It's pretty tough. So, and like what I was saying earlier was like when we do eventually get here, I have to like concede that my character is also pretty stupid, especially like still online. Lond is still like a bit of a different beast. So I can't say crap. Like my character is just as dumb, but like man, Kuon's pretty dumb. Um, just not in some of the ways that I thought. Like I've heard a lot of people mauled about uh 236A, his needle projectile into the pillar follow up being just like
Right.
really, really hard to play around.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot more of Kuon's strength for me isn't about his offense as much as it is his control and neutral. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like he's
Yeah.
controlling neutral against a majority of the cast better than anyone else could.
Right.
I agree. You know what's funny? So I actually talked to Masoma about this like when Kuon first came out, and he said he loves Kuon and anyone should play him if you just want to control like the schizos in this game because he forces he forces you to play slow better than any other character. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think this might be a take. I think he does it better than Yuzu. I'm not gonna lie.
It's been
Like
so hard watching Ohito play a little bit of Kuon on the side because I know Ohito is like so good on his character, and all he's doing on Kuon is walking back and pressing 236AA, the occasional
Mm-hmm.
22A, the occasional 22B, and smoking people.
it's
And it's like
his layer
crazy.
one is so strong,
Yeah.
and he's such a safe and non-committal character. It's like his framed like I was because I've been trying to like get used to the matchup, preparing for CB and like other tournaments for the year, and I'm like studying Kuon's frame data. I'm just like -4, -4, -4. I'm like, why are these absurdly good specials so safe? And they're at ranges where it's basically impossible for you to contest. Like it's so crazy to me what like how safe this character is and how good he is at controlling stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
there's
not sure about you guys, but I also think Needle is just really fucking
It
hard to dash block as well. I
it,
get
it
clipped by it so
yes.
hard every
Yes.
time. Like I get clipped and I look at my hands and make sure I'm blocking. Like it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
it's I don't know what it is, but like 22B has so much less block stun than you might expect that you have
Yeah.
to like really be on the ball with your next input in order to actually take advantage of the very little frame data wiggle room that it gives you.
Yeah.
It's hard. So yeah, the neutral is really tough, and he definitely slows things down a lot. And like, imagine being Roa and throwing lightning and just getting a full combo every time you tag somebody with it. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of where we're at with the neutral. Also, like, really, like whenever he gets a wheel on screen, I'm just like, all right, all right,
You
all
got
right,
that. That's your
yeah, you
lane,
got
you
that.
know?
Sometimes I'll be a little crappy, and I'll just like press a 4C and hope that they just run into it, and sometimes they
Yeah.
just do. But like other than that, it's like, okay, wheel is on the screen, you control the neutral for now. I was actually pretty surprised. I asked Mosin like somewhat early on, is there any character that you like really feel like Kuon doesn't handle well in neutral? And he's like, well, the only thing is like when you put wheel on the screen in most matchups, you literally control every following interaction in neutral. Like you totally set the pace. And the only character that you can't really do that against is Chaos. And I was like,
Interesting.
okay, because 6C, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So his neutral is like really, really strong. But the thing is like, and his offense is like obviously like more. It's like more difficult online. He still can run like the same strike throw stuff that every other character can, and I feel like Masoma does a really good job at leveraging that. Like I feel like you have
Empty
to
flow
kind of.
throw is very strong.
Oh my god.
Yeah, for sure.
Very strong.
Yeah. So I feel like he's doing exactly what you need to do, which is still like you still definitely have to play strike throw on Kuon if unless they genuinely have no clue how to block the wheel mix, or you're just feeling the online vibes that day, you know. But other than that, you know, you do have to do that. But like his defense too, Flash Kick OS is, I mean, I would know. It's pretty binary in a sense, you know. It's pretty hard to deal with, and the fact that it catches you trying to go in and then backdash to bait it because it's
Yeah.
just so big and hits
Yeah.
omnidirectionally. Like you can't find a safe zone like you can with VAT B flash kick. Like there's just no way to not interact with it. And then you have like a flash kick 214C to supplement that. It's like okay, it gets pretty exhausting, you know. Like last time I played against Masoma in a set, I was up like 9-3, and then I stopped baiting flash kicks, got like a little bit lazier in my play in some other places, and he flash kicked the hell out of me throughout like the next 7 games and came back 10-9. And I was just like, all right. You know? It's just so frustrating to deal with when you have worked so hard to get in. Again, I would know, like Batista, former Batista player here, like, so I get these dynamics, but like, you pair that with the fact that his 2CAD is like probably the best anti-air OS in the game, in my humble opinion. It catches backdash as
Yeah.
well, for a full combo. And like you can get behind it to make it whiff, but like how often is that going to be applicable on your character? Like,
Agreed.
you know, it's really hard to deal with that OS, and it is stupidly easy. Like it is really, really, really easy to use. So
Yeah.
I feel like his defense is just kind of cranked for how decent he is everywhere else. And like any defensive sequence that he does when he has meter, like you just know that all right, now the wheel's gonna be on me, and you know he's gonna side swap high low me, and all right, you go now, you know. So, and I think that's such a strong attribute to have in especially in this version, like not having to necessarily use roll to get out of the corner on block. Like if you have
Yeah.
Laundry B Rekka to side swap you, or Hyde 6-6C, or Kuon, you know, does wheel, and then he can even just like 6-6 AB and just get to the other side that way. Like he has so many options to, when he has meter, just put you in block stun and escape, and it's like, man, you know. So there's no point in the game where you feel truly comfortable against Kuon. There's like always something big to consider. I consider that like really strong. So, and the character's not that hard to play. Oh my god, dude!
He's a
I
very
came
easy character to
I
play.
came back from crossover getting double eliminated by Kuon, missing top 8. That kind of that was kind of rough. And then Gosada was like, okay, I'm gonna learn this character. Okay, Gosada literally learned this character in an afternoon. Played a couple of sets. He probably had a cumulative about 5 hours on this character. He said, I'm just gonna do Masoma stuff. I'm just gonna, like, I know what Masoma does. I know all of his strings, all of his habits, all of his spacings. I'm just gonna do some Masoma stuff. And so I booted up to play him and was getting cooked in the same way that I was against Masoma, and I was just like debilitated. I was mentally broken. I took it took like a week for me to recover from that experience. I was like, no way you can literally just hop on this character for 5 hours and crank out this.
I'm not gonna lie, like that's how I've been feeling fighting Kuon players. Like, 'cause I've been trying to, because Masoma did me in a Texas Showdown pretty bad. Like, I definitely got cooked up pretty hard. So I was definitely like trying to get my footing in that matchup, and I'm just like, is it me? Like, am I really like this bad? Like,
Dude, that's exactly what I have thought playing against Kuon. I'm like, damn, am I really that bad?
Like, that character genuinely makes me doubt my skill in this game in ways that I have not done in a long time. Like, it is so crazy to me. But I will say,
Honestly,
or actually, no,
no,
maybe you go.
I was gonna say, like, just on a whim, when I was playing in WASD on Sunday, I was just like, game one and every set, or at least after the first few rounds, I was like, game one, I'm just gonna pick Kuon and see what happens. I was just playing him, no training mode, no practice, just trying to play him through a simulation of watching and fighting against him, and I was like, wow, this is actually really simple. Like, I've never been in training mode with this character, and it's like I could do a few combos at least already.
That's
So I'm just like,
crazy, man.
it's
Yeah,
pretty
so I don't
funny.
know if you guys remember, I made this post. You could probably just like smell the salt on it from a mile away, but the post was like, okay, if you have a firstborn child that you just love dearly and they have to get out of pools in a uni bracket next week
I remember,
to
yeah.
survive, like who do you send in
Oh,
there? And
shit.
I got a lot of wrong answers. I feel like there was only one right answer there, maybe two. I feel like the only right answers really were like Kuon and like maybe London Hyde. But like Kuon was it, man.
Yeah.
That's how your child lives. That's how you
Kuon.
save your child's life. You direct them to Kuon at the character select screen.
Kuon's
'Cause,
definitely
like-
the Buzz Lightyear of the game. It's crazy, man.
I'm kind of eating my words because I had always said like I really hope they add Kuon and I hope that he's really strong to the point where like he really justifies Uni system mechanics being as as prevalent as they are.
Look, I'm just saying the signs were there because Masoma wanted that character too, and you said he'll
Yep.
play him if he gets added. It's like we should have known this character would have been like a
Uh-huh.
criminal, like off that statement alone.
Yeah, I think that honestly, aesthetically, he's cool as hell.
I agree.
I think that like to be fair, like when you're doing optimal stuff, like his routing is really cool. I think like overall, he vibes as a cool character. I just wish that the skill floor wasn't kind of what it is for that character. Honestly, I just wish that Kuon had to work a little bit harder to do some of the cool stuff because it kind of does take the wind out of my sails a little bit when I know that like empty float is not hard to do.
Yeah.
Like it does remove a little bit of the hype for me that like yeah the character's cool. I just wish that he was maybe a little less pick up and play, because it feels like it's really easy to just pick up Kuon and kind of cook, if
Yeah.
unless they are playing ridiculously carefully, very very patiently. It just feels like Kuon can like really really sweep on the layer one. you know.
People play Uni2 every day, slop their way to victory. People play Kuon every day, slop their way to victory, and think, "Damn, I'm mad good at Under Night 2. When Kuon finally gets nerfed, leave, because this is the start and finish of your FGC career. I promise you." I be
Sweet,
wanting
sweet.
to tweet that out every day, like every
Oh,
single day.
man. Again, I play a pretty easy to play character too for the most part, so it's like I can't say too much. It's just I don't know. If gun to my head, if you ask me like, okay, so then what do you do about Kuon? I don't know. I don't have a solution. I guess
I
I'm just
honestly
gonna
don't
learn
know
them.
either.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just gonna
Bait the
we're all
flash kick. Fuck it.
I guess we're just gonna have to bait the flash kick. I think we are gonna get collectively better at the matchup,
Yeah,
and you
it's
know
still
they're
like new character syndrome
yeah.
too.
So as far as the other new characters,
See, I was gonna say, thinking about the other characters, another character out of the three that's easy to play. See, the thing
Tsurugi.
is, Tsurugi, that's my guy. Tsurugi is a sick character, and I don't think he's very hard to play. But comparing the ceiling between him and Kuon is like 2 stories above him, and it's like, dang, Tsurugi, he's really fun. He's got a lot of cool, interesting stuff and interesting tools, but like, there are just some matchups where it's like, man, I have this big old shield on my arm, and I just can't use this thing. I'm just
is
like,
have you played
man.
Tsurugi Yuzu? Do you have any opinions on it?
See, I've played Tsurugi Yuzu a few times. I've played with Rorik a handful of times. I played Carp a couple of times. I mean, I think the matchup is definitely in her favor, but like, at crossover, Red was talking about
I know he said that
Tsurugi
matchup was
Yuzu being
trash.
7-3, and I'm just like, that's insane. It's not that bad. It's
Oh,
really not that bad.
that's the edited for home viewing version. I have heard 9-1, but
Whoa.
I mean
Yeah, see,
he was really going through it at first. Like
Damn.
I don't know.
he's come around a bit now.
I've played the matchup a decent amount, and yeah, I don't think it's that bad. It's definitely challenging finding the ranges where you can use force function to try to approach Yuzu, since she has a lot of long-reaching lows to try to stop you from doing that. But in terms of, can Tsurugi play neutral in this matchup and eventually find his way in? Yes. And once he's in, does she have a really hard time getting him away? Yes. So I think the matchup is, in her favor for the most part. But if he can find his way in, he can play the matchup pretty well. And
Such as Yuzu.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think he has any matchups that are like overwhelmingly bad. Like, none of his matchups feel very much of a struggle.
Yeah.
Except maybe I think if I had to pick one matchup that was probably his worst, I'd have to say it might be Eltnum,
Oh. That's funny.
because he can't use force function at all against Eltnum.
Because of 214A,
Right.
I'm
214A
assuming.
exists, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
It's funny that you bring that up because like a month ago or so, I don't remember, I made a tier list, like a meme tier list, and then like a real tier list like a day later. And both of them Red Blade posted, this matchup is 7-3, and I can tell you why. So it's just like, wow, like this guy's really suffering against Eltnum. Like, what are your thoughts on it? Like, do you really think it's like that bad for real, or
I think it's necessarily that bad. I just
yeah,
figure it's his worst because he has the hardest time playing his game against
yeah.
Eltnum compared to anybody else.
I feel like characters with like long lows like that are like pretty hard to deal with as Tsurugi, I would assume. I don't have
Yeah.
as much experience against him or Kaguya compared to Kuon though.
Imagine,
Right.
imagine listing a weakness of your character being my fastest low is 10 frames, and people laughing it off when the Tsurugi matchup exists. Just saying. Just saying.
Oh, because
Yeah.
of
I mean, it's
6XB.
nice to have some nice long lows, but man, when Tsurugi's in my face using force function as Lond, oh my god, I'm feeling some kind of way about it.
I thought you were.
I think 6XBs are crazy as normal too.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna mention.
Yeah. That's definitely that's his best normal by far. It does so many things.
What, 8 frames too?
Yeah, it's not. I think it's 9 frames. He can special cancel it,
Full combo trade.
full combo on
You
trades.
can cancel any hit of it too.
He can
Wow.
delay the cancel pretty heavily. So if you try to like fuzzy shield before the multi hit comes out, you'll get green shield grid broken TRM'd by 214.
I
You
actually
get like
saw
3.5.
I saw Daddy White Rock do that when I was watching his Tsurugi. He would like
Yeah.
him and like Sero, they were doing that setup like crazy. And it was cooking people like bad. Like that is very interesting.
Yeah, you see the big multi hit. I think you can shield safely.
Yeah.
The another you're talking about Red Blade tweeting is he was playing the mirror against Tom Clancy.
Mhm.
And he tweeted just saying that like doing run up TK increase 236 is not skillful as an OS crush.
But yeah.
But it's crazy because like some characters can't even punish it. Like Phonon, she can't punish
Yeah.
it. Like
Yeah.
she doesn't have a quick enough normal to deal with it.
It's okay, and even if you do, you've got the delay cancel into 236C. Shout outs to you taking me out of bracket that one night with that BB.
Oh yeah.
I mean that was off of I think 236XX that you set it up with, but still I was like, okay, you got it. Yeah,
And
the
honestly, against some characters, depending on the spacing or the range, and he could do this with 66C too. If he does 66C on block and delay cancels into J236A, or if he delays into IC J236B, like he'll be at a spacing sometimes where if you press a button, he could land and cancel into 214C, and your button will just hit the guard point and you get punished. It's pretty funny.
I feel like we would be complaining about Tsurugi a little bit more if his average damage was like a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I feel like Tsurugi's damage is like pretty fair. It's like actually a pretty
Agreed.
good model for what damage could be for
I
some other
will say
characters.
I have to put an asterisk to that because why is 236C the way it is?
Okay,
I think he
eight frame
unironically
plus on
needs it. He needs it. Unironically.
8 frame plus on block advancing like EX move that does so much damage as a combo starter. Like I don't know.
4.2.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's
I
got
mean
meter
I
on
think
that, bro.
that he's not like I don't think that he's a huge exception to some kind of rule for having a tool like that, but it being like something that will catch up back round start is pretty
It's a
unique and
crazy
like
punish
pretty
tool too.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you roll it,
So we can definitely complain about 236C and that damage. And we can definitely complain about like the kind of damage he's getting off of 214 TRMs and like grid breaks.
Yeah.
Like that's like pretty him and Mika both I've been really surprised. I've been like, "Whoa, yeah, you actually do get duped for it."
Yeah.
Which in in this kind of version where it's kind of guess on an OS or die in some cases, like
Right.
God, just OSing at all against Tsurugi feels so bad. So, like I kind of respect the way that Red goes about it, which is like he just makes you forget about it all the way up until the point where you die for it, you know? So those are the exceptions, but like, if you get like tagged by counter hit 2C, I'm not like reeling back like I am against some other characters at like the kind of damage that follows that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you could consider that almost like he's actually like you were saying, his damage is fair. Like having that strong offense is kind of makes it like a bit more like the getting the same damage off a striker or throw is almost like kind of like Blaze Blue, like tier M.
Yeah, a little bit.
But there's
But
also
he,
the
he
other.
may have to interact with you a little bit more because of the not quite as aggressive damage from some of his hits, but he's got such good tools to supplement for that. So
Yeah, I was gonna say the dynamic is there between like that strike throw offense and then like Carmine fuzzying you taking 6K.
yeah.
BB, you were talking about, or we were talking about like his worst matchups. Is there any matchup where like you're just like, oh, I just put the shield up and just that's it. The match is done. Like Tsurugi's best.
Actually, yeah, there's a few like that.
It's a chaos.
Gord gets destroyed. Chaos gets destroyed. Hilda gets destroyed. Uh,
This character
I
sounds
think Phonon
sick.
Tsurugi is kind of hard though,
is there
like in
anyone
certain
else?
areas.
I think I saw you threw up the shield during Hilda Gloom, dude, and just ran it down.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
so funny. It was so funny. He's so
Bro,
ignorant.
that Tsurugi has had me has had me molding a few times. I've been like, okay, like it feels like you backing off is more threatening than me backing off. So it's like I can't I can't, interact with you directly without like I feel like first backing off and like getting a few things set up. Like I want to put out the ball so that I can then get the gem out so then I can have like, a really good offensive sequence going. But it's like backing off feels like such a double-edged sword that it's like I feel like I have to. It's like EX Wagner matchup where like I really have to like not let him set up his thing in neutral, but also I don't want to be next to him. So
Yeah.
like, what do I do? It's I don't know. That one's a little awkward for Vat. I feel.
I want to pick your brain about Tsurugi Merkava. I feel like in theory that would be good for Tsurugi too. Like Merkava
Uh,
can't do 5C rebeat on him if he has 100. Like if you shield
yeah,
that, like
yeah,
that
he can.
is free. And
Yeah, that
like his
matchup's pretty
zoning would be
interesting. The
like
zoning
have that
isn't
press.
that bad because I could just throw up the shield and then just
Yeah.
move forward. Merc is actually one of the few characters where trying to RPS after J236B is kind of hard because if he does 2 and 4C, I get punished every time.
Oh wow.
But honestly, yeah, for the most part, I mean, Merc has some solid options, and he's got 2C in neutral to try to stop the force function approach. But if Merc gets put in the corner, he's just kind of cooked.
GG's.
Wait, if Merc does 2 on 4A and Tsurugi does 2 on 4C, do you grab him from like the other side of the screen?
I don't know. I've never tried. I've never seen that interaction before. But I
Is
doubt it.
is that a good
I
starter?
doubt it.
2 on 4C?
2 and 4C, it's okay. 2 and 4C is like 3K non-counter hit.
Hmm.
It's like 3.3 if I do get a counter hit. I wish 2 and 4 like 2 and 4C in theory is such a good move, but in practice it's so inconsistent. Cuz Tsurugi doesn't move that far once he actually tries to grab you. So there are interactions where I'll try to use it and the guard point will come out and I'll go through something, but then he'll just be standing there trying to grab the air and then he just dies. So it's kind of hard to use at certain ranges. If it was like a sim, if it was like Gord EX a sim, it would be ridiculous.
Do you, Lid? Do you want to talk about Kaguya?
Right before we do that, I do want to ask about like, at least maybe I'm just like don't really feel that way, or maybe it's because like we talked about like his damage kind of average, but I feel like Tsurugi, like I don't see like a ton, you know, like well definitely obviously it's kind of hard to compare like any character to how much you see Kuon, but I feel like Tsurugi you don't see like
No, I will say I think out of the three, I think Tsurugi might be the least popular.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
Yeah, I can see
yeah.
that. Yeah.
I mean, we were seeing that as early as the reactions to like teaser trailers for the characters. But
yeah.
if anything, I feel like Tsurugi turned out to be a much more interesting character than I had anticipated. Like I was one of the many who was kind of ready to like write him off. I was not that excited.
Yeah.
But
I
now,
think gameplay is his most interesting aspect of the character, but that's
For
really it
sure. Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know. Like I see the ADP into like 2B the pickup or whatever, and my
That shit
like
is
neurons
tight.
get activated. I love it when characters do that.
That shit is
It's so
tight. That shit
sick.
is tight.
It's funny because when I watched the, you know, we had that like little discourse about like, you know, no one's reacting to the Uni trailers or whatever. When
Yeah.
the Kaguya trailer came out, I was like, man, I couldn't care at all. Like this character's for you know a certain type of audience that's kind of whack. I'm not gonna
Oh
do that.
my
And then I was like,
goodness.
Tsurugi, I watched this trailer. I put up like a 40-minute analysis on it. I was like, this is so sick. He's so cool. And then I don't know what happened. The game came out, and I like pressed Kaguya 66E one time, and I was like, wait, she's so cool.
Her 6-6C is cool as hell. That's like
660, yeah, that would be the normal. They would be like, all right, Kaguya's got it.
That
Like,
normal
like-
is so cool.
That is, yeah, that is
it's
what.
such a unique normal too.
Yeah, that
which
is
is like the
definitely
crazy
what
part.
drew my attention to her. I messed around with her a tiny bit in the beta, just because like I was like, oh, shooting the gun looks kind of fun. And then the game came out, and then I was like, I guess I actually really like playing her, and I'm gonna keep playing her. But yeah, I don't know if I mean I'm sure you guys have heard, but you know, a lot of people saying Kaguya is not really, you know, that strong of a character. I myself am-
here. Apparently in Japan, she's doing just fine. But
I think I noticed that too as well.
yeah, I am personally a chronic up player. I'm like a very rare, you know, breed in the fighting game community. But I think she's great. Um, JP, it is funny you mentioned JP players because I do watch a lot of JP Kaguya footage because there's not too many higher level Kaguya players in America.
It's like Mikami Hasagawa and I forgot the other one. Or Hishigata's and Neji's been playing her too.
Neji and then yeah, Hasegawa, yeah, Kawasaki.
Kawasaki, that was the other one.
But something I kind of noticed, and I do wonder if this is why they do rate Kaguya higher. Whenever I watch the JP Kaguya players, the opponent is never delay teching and never 3Ding.
See, I was gonna say, I've watched a decent amount of the JP players playing Kaguya and the other players fighting against Kaguya, and I'm just like, man, I don't know. Like, I just feel like I don't want to say what the Kaguya players are doing is fake offense because it's real if they're not gonna deal with it, you know? Like
Yeah.
these guys aren't trying to counterplay this character at all. They're just like, oh, she's on offense. She's spending meter, EX grenades. It's time to hold this. And I'm just like, you guys are dying. This is not working.
Yeah, it's funny because yeah, it's like you're saying, like they just kind of assume that it's real and kind of like I mean you're not wrong about them being kind of fake, but you're right that there's definitely counterplay. Like when I played against Foxof in the first attend I did, he came into the chat and he was like, "All right, I did my homework," and I'm like, "Okay, we'll see, we'll see." And then I'm doing my Oki, and I'm like, "Where's my mix, man?" And like, Lond is one of the characters where she gets like the really good Oki as well. But even though you get the really good Oki, like if you delay tech, that's what I was talking about earlier, you have to commit to baiting the roll or getting the mix. You can't do both. So
exactly.
and even adding that tiny bit of layer like adds a lot of mental stack on my offense as well. And I think like even just doing something small like that is important. But yeah, I don't know if that's specifically why JP rates are so high. I do think she's pretty good. There are some moves that she has that are like, you can tell the developers were very specific with what the move was supposed to do. And like it's not
236 BB.
yeah, 236 BB is like a specific zoning RPS. It's like Kaguya has 4B, which is like a great anti-air. And it's funny because this is Monday after crossover. I was waiting for my flight. I was hanging out at Twang's place. Shout out Twang. And I was talking to Mo about Kaguya, and Mo was like, "Yeah, just do 4B AD as your main OS." And I'm like, "No, you should not." And he's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Well, you have to stand up. Like that's not good." It's like, "Yeah, but like you can do it and then like cancel or whatever." I'm like, "No, you can't." It's like
Yeah.
you cannot
yeah.
cancel that move. It's a -8 on block. You cannot cancel. You can't even CS it. That
Yeah.
being
I thought they're gonna change that in another month
Yeah,
or
I
next, right?
I think they're gonna change that.
so the thing about that is that Kaguya 4B is also a move that has 6-frame head and vuln, which I believe is the fastest in the game on an anti-air normal. I know Orie uses frame 7, but I think Kaguya 4B is the fastest anti-air normal with head and vuln like that.
This
Um,
explains a few interactions. Yeah.
Yeah, the hitbox is frame 8, but the head and vuln is frame 6. But that's what makes it really good at stopping jump-ins, because someone's jumping towards me, I'm holding back, I'm already walking backwards holding 4, and I just
Yeah.
tap B and they explode. Now,
Yeah.
what's really annoying is like what happens to me so many times is when I'm playing online, I can't do that. And it's very frustrating because I will get counter hit because of the 2-frame input delay. You have to like stand shield in that situation. But that's an example of like that's a move that move is supposed to be used as a reactionary anti-air and not as an OS, because it's super, well, not super minus, but it's minus on block and it's like a clear I'm giving up my turn situation.
Yeah. Carp was saying that like it's a little unintuitive sometimes to pressure because uh you know, 2 of your normals out of the 4 that you're going to be using a lot in pressure, as far as like your B and C normals, like 2B and 5C are just kind of strange enough, like utility enough that you're kind of left with 5B and 2C as like your kind of go-tos if you want to do just like regular old uni pressure. And I don't know. I could kind of see it. Like, I mean, everything that I see about Kaguya is like XYZ has the potential to be really good. You just got to use it for what it's meant for, like,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I feel like as far as like we were talking earlier about how so many characters got so many things that just makes their kit more consistent. I feel like the biggest complaint that I've heard about Kaguya is it's never things like she just doesn't have a valid win condition. Like that's absolutely wrong. Like, obviously once she gets going, she's in a really good spot. But the worst things that I hear about Kaguya are really just that like there are little inconsistencies or like little nuances that you have to keep accountable for that maybe other characters don't have to care about.
That's
So
my biggest issue playing her. Is just the small inconsistencies trying to do combos, and sometimes in pressure, it's just like I know this character can function. It's just that in these specific situations, her tools don't want to function, and I don't understand why.
Yeah, there's a
Especially the amount of times I've CS'd and done CDP and only the first hit will hit and everything else whips. I'm just like, ooh, I don't get it.
yeah, there's a reason I do like the corner carry combo sometimes when I'm already in the corner, cuz like that's just like I'm like this is consistent. It's going to work. I'm going to get my
Mhm.
Oki like, you know, yeah, I could be doing a bit more damage, but like I'm going to have to do a combo that has like 3 weird interactions and make sure I time those right. And
Exactly. So I feel like in a game where most of that kind of diciness has been greatly reduced, It feels like Kaguya and to a degree Chaos are kind of like the standout characters where it's like, but why are they having to work so hard to like, you know, uh, do the things that are more consistent for other characters? So I don't think my opinion is that I don't think that Kaguya is actually like outright weak. I think some of her tools are quite good. It's really just and this is just what's been told to me, but like just the consistency stuff. I feel like if she could get some quality of life, people might be playing her a little bit more over here.
Mhm.
I say that like she wasn't technically she's the most played character in the first month of the game.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably more of like a casual audience,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But I
but
mean, I will say for me personally, like, I mean, I've talked with Lid before. Like, I haven't made this opinion very public in general, but me personally, I think Kaguya is a strong character. The only reason I don't play her more is because of the small inconsistencies that she has.
Yeah.
Um, I know for sure, like, right now it's just combo breaker practice, but once I come back, I'll definitely start playing Kaguya a bit more again because I haven't played her in a while, actually. So I want to go back and play her again. Um, yeah, I think she's strong. She has all the tools necessary to be a strong character in Uni, and I think she plays Uni well.
Mhm.
It's just getting used to playing her in a way that minimizes the amount of inconsistent aspects that you would run into is what kind of makes it a bit harder for people, at least over here. In Japan, they enjoy her a lot and they just play around her as a character. But at least in terms of over here, the reason why you don't see her as much is just because I don't think people want to commit to learning how to play around her as well.
when you've
But
got the other newcomers, Tsurugi and Kuon right there, it's like she kind of feels like the odd one out in terms of like the level of effort that you have to put in to
yeah,
just to kind of get that one off the ground and get going, like you
yeah,
said, consistently. So
Uh,
I worry a little bit looking at the JP tier list because I know that they make such a big impact on balancing decisions. Um, because like when I was looking at Lon staying bottom one on the entire like throughout clear in the JP tier list, I was like, he might get he might get overbuffed, guys. He might be like suddenly a top tier character in the next version if they give him a bunch of stuff that he like doesn't really need. They might overtune him and
Interesting.
hmm, you know. And so
You,
I like
you saying we gotta invest into chaos next version?
I
Hold
mean,
up.
maybe, but I guess my concern is kind of the opposite of that. That like, uh, seeing Kaguya regarded so well in Japan, I'm suddenly like a little bit worried for my homies who just really want to play Kaguya, but don't want to deal with the kind of the inconsistency issues. Like, I hope that she still gets a lot of love in whatever next future patch of the game drops, and just like because what I gather is that yeah, she's super fun. It's just like people don't want to have to be like
yeah.
dealing with micro spacing on 2C confirms for their air dashes and things like that. Like just little things that
Yeah.
are just like really irksome. So yeah, I don't really care whether or not she gets like outright like mega buffed, like gets a bunch of new moves or like some crazy neutral skip or something like that. I don't really care. I don't feel like she needs any of that. I just really want her to get some polish, some quality of life.
Yeah, needing like a PhD for a character is just like a big way to steer players to play that
for
character, you
for a new
know?
character,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's just
Like, I
like
yeah,
mean,
I want, yeah.
if you want to play a legacy character and like kind of catch up to like all these years of optimization and stuff like that, like that's one thing. And even all of those characters now have been polished to the point of like really really consistent and approachable, so yeah, I just want the same thing for Kage.
Yeah, the consistency is a big thing because especially for an Oki character, because like that's what makes Byakuya so strong, right? Is he's like consistently he's gonna carry you to the corner, he's gonna put you in the setup, and you're gonna have to guess. That was like his thing in clear, and that's why like despite other characters being ranked higher than him on tier lists, his consistency is what makes him so strong. But for Kaguya, like I was saying, I always do the easy corner carry combo. On the other hand, like Kawasaki, she does the super optimal combos on every hit. But then, like, I'll be watching her play, and she'll drop the combo, and then
Yep,
you don't get
she'll
the
drop it,
Oki,
and
and
then
then
no Oki,
it's
and
just
then they're
Dropping a combo in Uni2 is
It feels
it,
so. I think that's probably the worst feeling in this
yeah.
game
Absolutely.
by far. I feel like I see myself going for like save gamer routes more than like ever,
Mhm.
especially in
Mhm.
tournament.
For sure.
Like, I mean, obviously that's a good thing in its own right, but like, I feel like you really had to push damage in this version too, though. Like, that's why it feels so demoralizing when you fuck up like that.
yeah. I think it's important to learn like learn your DP punish, your OS crush, your combo off of your mix ups and stuff like that. But the consistency is important, especially because like I was coming from playing Lene or like Enkidu is I was dabbling with too, and like if I drop my combo, it's kind of like okay, I'll just like run up in 5A, like it's basically it's kind of the same thing. I lost some damage, but whatever. But Kaguya, I'm just like I might as well unplug my controller. It's like I just like the round is over. Like
That's how I feel when I like play Phonon and I fuck up like TK fireball routing. I get JB and like I just get punished. I'm like, fuck. Like it's so over.
yeah,
Like,
it's funny because like a bunch of the optimal combos we were finding for Kaguya first were like, yeah, you link into 2C. And I don't know if you ever like made Kaguya 2C whiff, but she does like a little, dance, break dance on the
yeah.
floor, and like she's in that animation for so long, it's like you're just begging to be punished if you're just trying to link into 2C.
Yeah.
But I think we've covered everything we want to talk about. Um appreciate all you guys coming out here. This might be the longest episode I've done. It might be like
Had a
tied to
lot
the
of fun.
minute. Very
Yeah,
close.
I hit my second win like 40 minutes ago.
Hell yeah.
This is pure
It's big
adrenaline,
time,
baby.
It's big time.
But if you guys want to, give a shout out, if you guys like, Twitter, Twitch, or whatever, go ahead.
Okay, this is gonna be a crazy like. I feel like this is a topic that I probably shouldn't introduce, but I think there's a player in NA right now that like we got to realize like how I mean he's been winning a lot, but like I don't think people realize how good this dude has gotten since clear to now. This dude Randy is playing on a level that like is absurd.
Let's go,
Mhm.
Randy.
I'm
Yep.
like I'm trying to tell you, like, bro. So like, I've been playing this guy like the past few days because I feel like the best way to like, get back into shape is to play strong players, right? That's
Right.
the best way to get back into form. And like usually, like when you get cooked, you're like, well, I'm rusty, blah blah blah. But I feel like even if I was in top form, I would still be getting cooked by him. Like I haven't the last player on Seth to make me feel this way was when I played Ojito at Evo 2019. I think Randy right now is playing on a whole different level. Like I will say, I think grand finals at Common Breaker will be BB versus Randy. I could say that with confidence.
And for those,
I think BB and Randy are like fighting for the best in NA title right now.
who don't
Like
know,
at least for UNI2.
Randy is not. In case
Yeah.
people didn't know.
Yeah.
Speaking of
This dude is absurd.
speaking of CB though, who all is going? Silent and BB?
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you going, Foxof?
I am not. I think the next thing that I'll be going to actually is Climax of Night. So yeah, I'm kind of I really like this game. Like we've been talking this whole time about like our reservations about this version, but like that's only because my knee-jerk reaction is just I love this game. Like this is awesome.
Right.
That said, like I am not going super hard competitively right now on it, and it's just where I'm at in life, you know. I definitely have some more brackets in me, but
I got one more in me.
I'm just taking it a little slow right now. So yeah, I'm gonna be posted up on the couch with some buddies and some popcorn, watching the bracket, having a great old time. I can't wait to watch the bracket. It's gonna be
It's
so
gonna be
much
tight.
fun.
Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome.
I
But
can't
yeah,
wait to
you.
see 2 Gig versus Stanley. I can't believe that's like projected before
Oh
it's
my
actually played.
God!
Yeah.
That's
Yes,
absurd, man.
yes. But yeah, as far as myself, like I'm taking it pretty slow right now. I was actually like hands have kind of been bugging me from work. You know, I might be
I
like
feel
dealing
that.
with some repetitive motion stuff. So when I hopped on to play Psychotic the other day, it was like the first time I'd played in a week, and I was like fully prepared to not do as well as I did. So like thankfully the time away on low APM single player games doesn't seem to have affected me too much yet. But yeah, sorry, I'm not going to be like super active for the time being, but I am still enjoying the game a lot, a lot, a lot.
Are you going to beach episode?
Oh yeah, yeah, I'll be there.
Okay, I think that's before climax is October. Is that right?
Yeah, so
Yes,
climax
it's in
should
Yeah.
be
August, right?
October, and beach episode is in August, and Defi won that league for Boston Blue Beat Online, so he will be getting flown out for it.
Mm-hmm.
We've also got like Garmfield coming through, and I'm trying to think of. I know there's some New York players coming up. I'm blanking on who exactly, but we're trying to see if we can get Red and Pinku to come out as well. I think them knowing that it's going to be like in a hotel venue over the weekend is certainly helping a lot to lure them. So,
That's
uh,
crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
wait, I didn't. Wait, no.
No, no,
Wait,
yeah,
no, no. I didn't mean it like that. Well, anyways, yeah, beach episode is going to be awesome.
It's
Like,
gonna be tight.
looking at what they've got shaping up for it, like I'm pretty excited, and I don't usually have options like that close to me. So I'm really looking forward to driving down and having a good time with that.
Well, I think that's a wrap on us. Again, thanks. We kind of got sidetracked, but thank you guys for coming out. You guys do want to shout out, anything other than the goat Randy. Uh,
dude, I had to say it, bro.
no, I
I had to get
respect
it off
it.
my chest.
But everyone's Twitters are linked here. I believe a couple of us are stream the game as well. I don't know if anyone's Twitch tags are different.
Uh, oh,
Maybe you go first.
my Twitch is the same as my Twitter. I mean, I've been kind of inconsistent recently, but I do stream the game pretty frequently.
You will probably see another YouTube video from me before you see another stream, but I would like to get back into streaming a little bit. Um, that's right. I wanted to tease a little bit at
Oh,
kind of an idea I had for a video. So just quick poll here. Maybe this will determine whether or not I do it. So quick poll as we're wrapping up here. Uh, People here, how many of you know about the gem detonation nerf that Batista got?
I know about it.
Okay, Lid knows.
Yeah, I know about it too.
I don't know about it. I cannot lie.
I did not know.
Okay, 50-50 is good enough for me, so I'm making the video. Because it affects so many aspects of her gameplay, and I don't feel like a whole lot of people know about it yet. So yeah, I kind of want to make that video, not necessarily because I'm like that super invested in VAT anymore, but I just think it's a really interesting change that kind of flew under the radar at first. So it's like it's really a 50-50 whether or not you've heard about it. So yeah, I think I might want to make that one.
Yeah, I won't spoil it, but there's a reason you see VATS do 66B. to detonate their gems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I won't say it either. I remember like a lot of like ways VATs used to like do stuff in the detonate, they just don't do no more. Like I never see VATs go for JA detonate anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like I won't go into details, but yeah, that nerf is pretty crazy. I'm surprised it's overlooked. As crucial as a nerf that is.
Don't worry, everyone will know the truth soon.
All Silent Hooper. I was streaming a lot on like when the game first came out, but I've been kind of busy with like live stuff. But I think I'll probably stream a lot more after CB or DreamHack because I'm not doing Evo unless like I pull a 4-leaf clover at the ground and like some crazy thing happens. But as unfortunate as it is, I won't be at Evo this year. So after DreamHack, because DreamHack's literally like in my state, 3-hour drive.
Right.
I'm not gonna be anything until Climax. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, all my socials are the same. So
Same boat as Silent. My socials are all the same. You know, I stream the game super infrequently, but you know, usually when I do stream, it's a good time. I will be at Evo this year, which is super exciting. Never been to an
Oh,
Evo
yeah.
before, so
Let's
yes,
go.
sir.
yeah, Las Vegas this is like once in a lifetime thing. This is off
Yippee.
the bucket list. You know, it's gonna be super
Yeah,
fun.
I feel like Evo's a event like everyone has to attend once,
Yeah,
regardless
yeah.
of like
Yeah,
the common consensus. Like I feel like it's just a requirement.
right. It's like a rite of passage for an FGC player. You know.
Yeah, I'll also be ticking that off of my bucket list this year as well.
Hell yeah, let's go.
And then I was gonna
Oh,
go to.
I'm excited for you guys.
Yeah,
Thank
it should
you.
be a good time. I was gonna go to Combo Breaker next week, but I've been kind of suffering an injury, so I'm not gonna be going anymore. If you see me in the pools, the seating is assuming I'll be there, but I won't be. Um, but you know, I might have to swing by another event later this year, maybe Climax, or I don't know what's gonna happen with like CEO Taku at this point. So
I really hope.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
Bailey is actually trying to work with like Holiday Matsuri or whatever
Mhm.
to do something there. I really hope that happens because CEO Taku is my favorite event of the year,
Yeah.
and I always make it a goal to attend that event every single year, no matter what. So I'll be pretty disheartened if like there isn't a CEO Taku this year.
Like another event that I kind of really want to go to is Boston Blue Beat, but you know, being a 9 to 5 or a wage slave is just so hard to get that time off and make that commitment. But Boston Blue Beat sounds like a lot of fun, and if I can make it, I'll definitely go. But
Hell yeah.
who knows?
Would love to have you, man.
Hell yeah.
all right, I think we can actually for I think the third time we can actually end it. But
Also, shout out to
Cool.
everyone who read Umineko. Like that's just the goat, but that's all I gotta say.